Hi everyone!
Hello everybody!
Welcome to another MSI Insider live stream. And today we're going to talk about graphics cards, right?
GPUs.
Yeah? No?
Yeah? No.
Cases maybe?
No, CPUs. Don't confuse them.
Ah, so that's why we have all these CPUs in front of us.
Yeah, so something new this week. We're next to each other, so no disappearing arms anymore.
No. And even the cameras look the same. Well,
yeah.
It's one camera, so that makes sense.
Probably last week. Next week the government is going to make new regulations.
We have to sit apart again, maybe.
Yeah, but you know, we wanted to try it with our Elgato Stream Deck we have here, so hopefully nothing goes wrong when we select the scenes.
Yeah, the Stream Deck was the only option because we didn't have space for a keyboard and mouse, as you can see.
No, so you now gave it away. We're going to talk about our new Z690 motherboards.
69?
690.
690.
690. Confused.
Dirty mind.
Yeah, needless to say, we have a giveaway.
And not just a regular giveaway. We have a special giveaway this week.
Yeah.
Because, I actually have the board right here. We will give away an MPG Z690 carbon Wi-Fi motherboard. And it's a really nice motherboard.
A working one?
So. A working one.
With retail box, everything complete?
So it's not specifically this one,
okay,
but
good.
It's like a...
Because
it's actually also a working one. But
normally you damage all the goods, right?
I do.
Oh, sorry.
So yeah, make sure to go to msi.com/2/insider, or if you're watching on Twitch or YouTube, you can also follow the direct link in the chat that our bot will put in there once every 5 minutes. Within Gleam, you can perform certain actions. The more you perform, the bigger chance you have to win. And if you're a returning visitor, also don't forget to claim your loyalty bonus, so you have a slight edge in the giveaway.
I think that's automatic.
I don't think so. I think you have to click it manually.
Oh, yeah, I never watch it. Your stream.
So. You don't.
No.
So that's why I always
normally I'm here.
See Eric in my giveaway participants.
Yeah. Yeah, that's always what I shout in the chat. Me.
Yeah, I see the chat as well. You have to click it. So make sure to do so if you're a returning visitor.
Let's start maybe. Because we have a lot of boards to cover, a lot of topics to cover. I believe everybody saw yesterday, you saw from your favorite media all the information from the new about the new Intel 12 Gen CPU. Intel also had a live stream about it. A lot of things are known, but not everything. So let me check if this works. Wow, it works. So this is what we're not going to talk about today, benchmarks, because there is still an NDA from Intel. And this is our schedule for the coming week. So next week we're going to talk about our Pro DP and our MDT MD271 CP. Jar is going to do that. And the week after, on Wednesday, November the 10th, our regular schedule, our regular time, but later more about times, because in Europe we're going to switch, not time zones, but we're going to winter time, what we call it, right?
Yes. Daylight saving time, yeah.
Yeah, indeed. So then we're going to do the benchmarks, and we have a lot of benchmark data because we're already playing like more than a half a year with this platform, and it's it tests.
I've got something very cool that we're going to build our test demonstration setup with. For
maybe show that first.
It's a little bit heavy though, but let me quickly tease it to you. Because I have a very big box here. Yeah, make some space.
Whoa.
And let me grab some scissors, because this is still all sealed.
We just got it this morning, right?
This afternoon even.
Oh, this afternoon, yeah, like maybe 2 hours ago.
Yeah.
Ruud came in, I still have one heavy box for you.
Yep. Fresh supplies.
If you have any questions, please put them in the chat, like always.
If they're about performance or benchmarking, unfortunately we cannot answer those yet.
And in order to save time, probably we're just going to ignore you. I mean, we have so many topics, and we want to finish in about 2 hours.
I hope we manage with all these boards.
Yeah, indeed.
It's quite an operation to open this box, a lot of tape. So that's a big CPU.
Yeah, but I'm afraid it's not only CPU.
No, I'm pretty sure it's not only CPU.
You want me to help?
Yeah, if you can. I will give you some stuff out of the box. Oh, maybe we can already show what's on there. You can already see more brands than just MSI.
It says Intel, MSI and Kingston Fury.
Yes. Because we created this box together with our partners from Intel and Kingston.
So how to do this?
I think we have to carry it out. Do we have a handle?
No.
No?
Maybe do like this and you throw away the box.
Okay. Don't drop it. Oh! Don't drop it. We still need it.
That's not...
I told you it was going to be heavy.
One moment. Yeah. Oh.
You didn't go to the gym today, huh?
No, I still need to go to the gym. Can you remove the tie wraps or whatever they're called? Maybe do like this. If I don't damage anything. Webcam is in front of it.
So this will be our testing platform of the live stream we will have in 2 weeks.
Oh,
or
nice.
13 days to be exact.
Hey.
Yeah.
It's like handmade, I would
special
say.
edition.
Yeah.
So a very big chest with some cool hardware in there, but we're not going to unbox this right now. But at the end of the stream, I will show you everything what's in there, and then you already know what we're going to show you in 2 weeks' time. So let me move this aside.
So later we're going to take everything.
We're going to take everything out of that box.
Okay, and this is not what people are going to win, right?
No.
Okay, cool. No, well, not cool, but I mean, clear. Yeah. Let's say clear.
No, we still need it for our live stream in 2 weeks. So.
Yeah. Okay. Again, in 2 weeks' time, next week Jan is going to do a live stream. In 2 weeks' time, we are going to talk about performance. It's not allowed yet. So, yeah, a lot of those questions we are not allowed to answer. And there are a lot of gray zones. I mean, talk about clock speeds. Well, we can talk about CPU clock speeds. Let's maybe go back to the PPT. So, yeah.
Yeah, let's just make a quick comparison with the new Intel Z690 chipset and the previous Z590 chipset, which is also a very recent chipset, by the way, because Z590, I think it was early this year, right?
Yeah.
That it launched. So also 2021 chipset, but a lot of improvements generation over generation. So I want to go just through the main changes. And the first one is, of course, PCI Express. With the 500 series, Intel Rocket Lake, so the 11 Gen Intel Core processors, Intel introduced PCI Express Gen 4 on their platform. They didn't have it in any earlier generations. With Z690, we're already going to PCI Express Gen 5. But it's not only that, because PCI Express Gen 5 lanes are from the CPU, 16 of them in this specific example. But the chipset now also gives PCI Express Gen 4 lanes, whereas on Z590, those were still PCI Express Gen 3. And something you will really see a big difference when comparing Z590 boards with Z690 boards is in M.2 capabilities. These boards have way more M.2 slots and also way faster M.2 slots.
Enough PCI Express lanes, right?
Yeah.
That was also always the big bottleneck.
Yeah, indeed. And where in the previous generation, if the lanes came from the chipset, you were always tied to PCI Express Gen 3. And in this generation, the chipset will give PCI Express Gen 4. And for the CPU lanes, to the graphics card, or even PCI Express Gen 5. So a lot of big upgrades in terms of PCI Express. But that's not the only big change. Yeah,
the DMI also improved. So when we talked about 10 generation, it had DMI X4 Gen 3. Mm-hmm. Now we're talking of let's say Rocket Lake, the 11 Gen upgraded to X8 Gen 3, and now it's X8 Gen 4. So we already proved with some benchmarks.
And that's over basically 3 generations.
Yeah.
So going from Z490, Gen 3 with 4 lanes, then Gen 3 with 8 lanes on Z590, and now Gen 4 with 8 lanes on Z690.
And we already proved with benchmarks last time, also RAID setups, that in the 11 Gen, X8 Gen 3, the PCH lanes were not bottlenecked by the DMI bus between CPU and the PCH. Or
that's
CPU
basically
and
the link
chipset.
between the CPU and the chipset.
Yeah, so this can only be better. And yeah, they need it for faster storage in the future, right?
Yeah. Talking about faster, memory.
Yes.
Because this is the first generation that can support DDR5. And just to make it clear, it's not only DDR5 motherboards that you see here, because with this generation you can get both DDR4 or DDR5.
And
Not in the same
that
board.
or is important because you cannot
Yes.
get, well, it's, I think nobody on the market made a combo board.
No, I don't think so. I haven't seen any.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's possible, but it's, yeah, technically a challenge, and I didn't see any boards on the market for that.
Yeah.
Also USB, of course, the improvements, and here in this overview it might be a bit confusing because you have up to 10, and that's because we as a motherboard vendor, we can decide how we configure the lanes. And we have to make choices if you, for example, want to put, for example, 4 USB 20 gig ports, the USB 3.2, what is it, 3.2 Gen 2 X2, basically 20 gig.
20 gigabit per second.
Yeah,
That's
ports,
easier.
indeed. Then you have to sacrifice something else, meaning you have less PCI Express lanes left. This is the Intel configurable I/O. We talked about it in the past.
It's basically making choices.
It's, yeah,
And
indeed.
it differs between boards as well.
Yeah, and that's the benefit for you because you probably can find the perfect board for you where you have either the right number of USB connectors or the number of M.2 slots, what you're looking for. Then our lineup.
And you may have noticed that we have a lot of boards.
Yeah, yeah.
So we're starting with the highest end in our lineup. So those are the MEG motherboards, enthusiast segment. So let's start by quickly showing you the Ace.
Let me see this button.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, there is still some plastic on here. Time for peeling. So again, you see the black and golden design that you may have seen in previous generations as well.
I see some more
Very
plastic.
shiny. Where's more plastic? Did I miss any? Oh, there's more plastic. Just keep on peeling.
I see more plastic.
Even more? Where?
In the middle.
In the middle? In the middle where?
Here.
Oh, there. All the plastic. Okay, there we go. As you may have noticed, this board is bigger than what you're probably used to from our Ace motherboards, because in the previous generations our Ace boards were ATX motherboards, and this is an extended ATX motherboard. So when I grab a regular ATX motherboard, you see that it's a lot wider. And
that's Unify. Oh, no, that's Tomahawk.
no, that's Tomahawk.
Yeah.
But that's just a regular
Yeah.
ATX motherboard.
Form factor.
Yeah. But yeah, really extensive feature set. We'll talk about it in detail later. You can also see that now next to the memory slots, there is also an M.2 slot and a very nice backplate on the back as well. Then let's take a look at our Unify series, and we have several boards in there. So let me first grab our MEG Z690 Unify. So this is
That's the other one, yeah.
this is the regular Unify, and you can see that from the 4 DIMM slots that it has. A lot of M.2 options here. These are actually 2 M.2 slots.
So 1, 2,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
5 M.2.
Yeah. So a lot of M.2. And then we also have our...
Well, maybe you can
Well, I have another one
keep
here.
this, yeah, but keep them side to side.
Yeah. Because this one is our Unify X. And as you can see, there's one big difference between these two, and that's the memory. Because this board has got 4 memory slots, the Unify and the Unify X has got 2 memory slots.
And both are DDR5.
Both are DDR5. All motherboards in our MEG series are DDR5 only.
Good question in chat. Why so many boards? This has to do with all the features, the price ranges, and there will be more boards in the future. It's always like this.
Yeah.
So some boards are typically for overclocking, like the Unify
Yeah.
X with the 2 DIMMs.
That's indeed the reason why there are only 2 DIMM slots on the Unify X, because it gives you better memory overclocking.
Then there are boards with, for example, with Thunderbolt or with a beefed up VRM.
Let me also grab our next Unify board.
That's your baby,
Smarter.
right?
Yeah. This is also always my favorite board in the lineup, Mini ITX. So this is our MEG Z690i Unify board. And it's small, but this is extremely powerful. We'll talk about it in detail later. Also has a nice backplate. And it's got Thunderbolt as well, dual Thunderbolt even. So yeah,
Pricing
very nice
we're going
board.
to talk about later. I see some questions. What's the cheapest mainboard in the lineup?
Yeah, later on we will show you a detailed table with prices both in US dollar and in euro.
Yeah. So then the next batch of motherboards in the MPG segment, which is typically the Carbon, the Force, the Edge.
Can you hand me over the carbon? Right in front of you.
This one,
Yes.
yes. Too many boards here.
This is the board that you guys can win today.
Yes.
The MPG Z690 Carbon Wi-Fi motherboard. As you can see, also a lot of M.2 hidden in here. A lot of I/O as well. It's got some nice RGB.
A lot of USB ports.
Quick teaser for the RGB. A lot of USB ports as well. Indeed. Let me quickly connect this. There we go. Some nice RGB there. And of course the Carbon logo. Extensive I/O. So this is our Carbon. And then we also have the Force. And essentially the difference between the Carbon and the Force in this generation is the color.
And we already saw a lot of people commenting in the previous live streams. White. No, this is more like silver.
Yeah, it's not white, but it's very light, bright silver.
Yeah.
So maybe you're familiar with our Mortar motherboards. In previous generation, the Mortar Wi-Fi also had quite light silver heat sinks. This is kind of similar in terms of color.
Somebody was asking about DDR5 pricing on dark something. Sorry, I forgot your name. The chat is going too fast. Later we talk about DDR5, the pricing, the speeds, everything. Yeah. We talk about everything except the performance today.
Yes.
Then you have...
Let me move the boards around a little bit so I have some space. Then we have our MPG Z690 Edge Wi-Fi.
Yeah. And this one we have in two versions, a DDR5 version and a DDR4 version. And the one you're looking at is a DDR4 version.
Yeah. There is a very easy way to tell. You can see it right there, but we will talk more about that later.
Yeah.
So this is indeed the DDR4 version. Ooh, peeling. There we go. Oh, I failed.
Hashtag failed peel.
Just to prove it's live, okay?
Do you think we would otherwise edit this out?
Of course we would.
Okay.
So those are our MPG series.
Yes, obviously you missed the Unify X. We just showed it.
I can give you a quick sneak peek. There, Unify X.
Then we're going to our MAG segment. And in the MAG segment you find our Tomahawk torpedoes. Tomahawks and torpedo indeed.
So the more affordable gaming focused motherboards.
Yeah.
So let's start with the Tomahawk, and I actually have two Tomahawks.
I already know which one that is.
One is the DDR4, one is the DDR5. Take a sneak peek at the back and you can already see a difference between behind the memory slots.
Yeah, maybe you can point at it. One version, the DDR4 version, they have the pins on the backside, and on DDR5 we use Smt soldering, meaning there are no pins behind each, let's say, memory connector. These boards are, I would say, almost identical, meaning the specs are the same, the only difference is DDR4, DDR5. I don't know if there are any other very small detail.
Yes, the Wi-Fi. The DDR5 model has Wi-Fi 6E.
That's not a small detail, but yes, it's a detail.
And the DDR4 model has Wi-Fi 6.
Yeah. So and that's on our whole lineup, right?
That's on our whole lineup. So all the models that are equipped with DDR5 and have Wi-Fi, they have Wi-Fi 6E, so they also support the 6 GHz frequency band. Yeah. And all the DDR4 models that have Wi-Fi, of course there's also models without Wi-Fi, but the ones that have Wi-Fi have Wi-Fi 6.
Okay, so let's move on to the...
We should first have our torpedo.
Oh yeah, I'm going too fast.
About it.
I'm going too fast or you talk too slow.
Or maybe both. So this is our torpedo.
I also have a box here.
The MAG Z690 torpedo. Oh, this is a Tomahawk Wi-Fi box. As you can see, the torpedo has the nice dark blue, what is it? Marine blue.
Marine blue,
Marine blue color scheme.
No SCSI in these versions.
And as you can see
you
on the back,
have an add-on for that.
DDR5 motherboard.
Yeah, so this one is only available in DDR5, right?
Yes, that's true. It really depends on the model. Some models have options for both. some you can only get with DDR4, some only DDR5.
Yeah, then we're going to talk about the Pro motherboard. So normally the Pro motherboards are more entry level because they don't have all the gaming features. They have a normal VRM, but still they come with depending on the model, they come with Wi-Fi.
And it's still Z690, so it's not that entry level. And
no,
in terms of
absolutely
VRM,
not.
they're also really strong nowadays.
No. So, and we have one of those boards here.
Right in front of you, with
one.
the box.
Yeah, indeed.
There we go.
I'm not sure if this is the box of this model.
One of the changes we made, no, this is the non-Wi-Fi, and this is the Wi-Fi
people
that I'm
cannot
holding.
see it like this.
There we go. A change that we made in our naming is that Pro is now in front. We already had that with MAG, MPG, MEG. They were all in front of the chipset name, so we synced that with our Pro series. So it's Pro Z690 -A Wi-Fi in this situation. So this is also a DDR5 model, as you can see.
So these boards we're talking today about are all Intel Z690, no AMD included here. I saw some people asking. No micro ATX, that's correct, because this is Z690, so it's a high-end chipset, and normally you will find micro ATX in the entry-level chipset segment, and who knows, maybe they will come in the future.
Yeah, maybe.
We're not allowed to talk about that.
No.
Oh,
but it may happen.
Yeah, it may happen. Yeah. Who knows?
Yeah. There we go.
Yeah, let me take this box.
I have another box
Oh
for you.
yeah,
It's a lot of organizing.
Box nightmare. Yeah. Why don't we
move the boxes? So there we go. Oh, we've got some more space.
Maybe I need one box.
I hope there was no motherboard in there.
No. Like this.
Danger Dude is asking why no price. Later on the stream we will definitely talk about price.
We first want to talk a bit about the CPU.
Yeah.
We're not going to talk too long about it because we cannot talk about performance, and that's the most interesting. But yeah, a lot of changes in this generation CPU. First of all, they will support Pci Express Gen 5. So, and this is quite a fast move because last generation Intel Rocket Lake just unlocked generation 4 after AMD already had that for some time. They increased the CPU PCI Express lanes, which also makes it more easy to have more M.2 slots and then have more configurations in the PCI Express slots. DDR5 memory, we will talk later about that, so it's raised to 4800, and it's easy to say, it's a little bit marketing language to say like we went from 3200 to 4800, but totally different technology. So let's talk.
4800 is just the default speed. You can go higher, and we even have a faster memory kit right here.
It's a new socket, Michiel, maybe you can show that in the detailed cam.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have a separate socket, so that we can easily show you. Maybe you can take
see
off.
that's a little bit bigger.
Bend some pins. Check if it's. Oh.
Yeah, this is a little bit scuffed sample.
Yeah. So it's a bigger socket.
Yeah.
This also means later we will talk about the dimensions.
You can also see that the shape is a little bit different.
Yeah.
So I've got two CPUs here. This is an LGA 1200 one that you know from the 10th and 11th generation Intel Core. And this is the new LGA 1700 one. So it used to be square, and the new one is rectangular. And that's what you also see in the shape of the socket.
Yeah. So it's not easy to put in an old CPU.
No.
It's almost impossible. Memory.
With a hammer, everything is possible.
Yeah, we will see that in our RMA servers from time to time. It still fits. It's not supposed to fit. Yeah, so new socket. Also, that's very interesting, a hybrid architecture. Later we talk about it. Intel 7 process, so it's a bit confusing. I see a lot of people saying, hey, 7 nanometer. Actually, this is Intel 10 nanometer. So Intel was using 14 plus. Can I stop? Plus.
I think you forgot a few.
Oh, plus. Process, you know, they and actually pretty nice what they did with that. I mean, they took this old process and they kept improving it.
They managed to squeeze a lot of performance out of it.
Yeah.
Because it was introduced with, I think, the 5th generation Intel Core, Broadwell. I think that was the first 14 nanometer one. And then we're talking 2014, 15?
Yeah, long time ago. So,
15.
and this now is the 10 nanometer with a lot of improvements, and this is the first time they will launch this on the desktop because it's already used in mobile and then some other platforms.
Yeah.
And let's talk a little bit about one of the biggest improvements, or the biggest changes, I would say, is the P and the E core. And if we talk about that, this architecture has bigger cores and also smaller cores. And probably you know this already from mobile phones. I think Qualcomm calls it big little architecture. Basically,
yeah, ARM is.
Or ARM maybe indeed. Yeah, basically you have some big performance cores, which of course use a lot of power, but they're very fast. They have a high IPC, and you have a lot of smaller cores who are very power efficient. And the idea behind this is that the tasks, the software you run, which needs priority, which needs a lot of CPU power, you run on your P cores. And if something running in the background, like a stream or like YouTube, you have open listening to some music. That's what I always do. They can run on the E cores, the efficient cores. And this is all managed by the thread director, which is some layer between the OS. So it also works in Linux, for example, and should I say in English Linux? Linux? Linux.
I think Linux.
Linux, yeah. It works in Linux, Windows. So yeah, and this is a big change. For you, or for us, let's say, it should not change anything because your software is just supposed to run.
Yeah, and this is something we haven't seen for normal desktop computers yet.
No.
This kind of core configuration.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, we have seen it in mobile. But yeah, for desktop computing, it's new. And this may also result in that you may see more optimizations in software over time. So this will probably, over the years, will get more and more optimized, so will get more and more useful as well.
Yeah, so this is a slide from Intel, so take it a bit with a grain of salt. Let's say next week, you can see all your favorite media. Sorry?
Or next week, you mean that you can read it? Yeah.
Yeah, then you
and
can read all about the performance, and in 2 weeks we are going to show the performance. And yeah, like what I said, we have a lot of more benchmarks because we're already six months benchmarking on this platform. But yeah, according to Intel, the 12th Gen P performance core is 28% faster than Comet Lake. So that's a big jump. Yeah. And even the smaller E-core, the efficient cores, are 1% faster. Basically, these are on the level of Skylake cores. So that's quite a lot of performance and very power efficient. So we talk about different cores. In our new BIOS on the Z690 motherboard, you can also disable them. And you can do that per core. You have basically a lot of control about which cores are active, which cores are not active. You can only do this on the K CPUs. On the non-K, you can only do the active core control. So besides that, we also have a new feature in the BIOS, CPU Force 2. If you, for example, are an overclocker, because you can only find this on the MEG boards from MSI, this will measure the quality of your CPU and it will give a score. The lower the score, the better your CPU. And the score can differ a bit. I mean, each time you reboot, it will give a different score. But basically, this means if you have two CPUs, like two i9s, and one is better, it means it can achieve the same clock speed with a lower voltage.
Yeah, so it's not like, for example, if you have a Core i5 that it will say poor, and if you have a Core i9 that it will say good. No, this is when you're measuring like between identical CPUs, it will basically give you an indication of which one would be the more suitable one for overclocking, because it can reach certain clocks at a lower voltage. And
having this same clock at a lower voltage means also when you increase the voltage, it can go higher. Basically, the good CPU has a higher overclocking potential because you don't max out the voltages ASP, and voltages translate directly into power, heat, and you need to cool that away. So that's the big bottleneck there. Then Intel still has TVB. Anybody in chat? Well, let's not wait for that. Thermal velocity boost, you remember?
Yeah.
How was this again? You use a few cores?
Yeah, based on the thermal, so the temperature, it can boost individual cores higher.
Yeah.
And that means you always get the maximum single core performance, and that's, for example, very interesting for games. When you're not using all cores, it can get certain cores really high up in terms of clock frequency, and in games that translates very well, especially if you like 1080p esports gaming. Those are really dependent on a good single core performance.
Who is that in the chat? Sunday Foggy Nation saying we can see Michiel's elbow.
You can? You can?
Yeah. Move away.
Okay, I will go to my own side.
1 meter distance.
I was just slowly capturing a little bit of ground here.
I only have the stream deck here, so it's for me impossible to edit the scenes. So go.
I will move a little bit to the left.
Yeah.
Back to my own corner.
Back to 1/2 meter distance. Thanks for the tip. Does this board have own deep learning chip? No. However, the Intel chip has some deep learning features, but today we're not going to talk too much about it because in 2 weeks' time we can go all out with benchmarks and technical information about
and
CPU.
later we will have even more live streams about the 12th gen Intel core.
Oh, sorry, I didn't finish that here. So terminal velocity boost, basically you can now decide which core will get this boost. So you decide which core is the best and you can input percentages, you can take an offset. So basically you have a lot of control about this. Let's talk about CPUs. They release basically 3 CPUs in 2 versions, each in 2 versions. One with graphics and one without graphics. And it's a bit confusing because you have the P and the E cores. So the P cores only have hyperthreading, right?
Yes.
So they have hyperthreading, so you get quite strange numbers for hyperthreading. In the past was always like...
in terms of threads you get really interesting numbers now. Like if you look at the Core i9, you have 8 performance cores and 8 efficient cores. And the 8 performance cores have hyperthreading, so they will have 16 threads on the performance cores, and then you have your 8 threads from the 8 efficiency cores. So that means you get 24 threads in total. Usually it was always double. So you got like 8, 16, 32, 64, 128 if you go high-end desktop platform, etc. Yeah. But yeah, here you can also get, for example, 24 like on the Core i9 because of that hyperthreading. Yeah,
these are like hyperthreading cores, so don't get confused like it's a 24 core because it's not.
No, it's a 16 core with 6 P cores, or 8 P cores and 8 E cores, but 24 threads.
So like mentioned already, eCPU supports both DDR4 or DDR5. However, the board decides what you can run. So either you have a DDR4 board or you get a DDR5 board. And later more about memory.
So you don't need a special CPU that supports DDR4 or DDR5 because the CPU can always support either one.
Yeah, I'm not going into detail about all the clock speeds. That's more for when we do our benchmarking live stream. Cache, yeah, well, you get a lot of cache. However, I want to go a little bit in TDPs because the standard TDP for all these CPUs is 125 watts. And for the first time, Intel is also disclosing the max turbo TDPs. And as you can see here, they're not low. Meaning, if you want to boost things, and that was a nice thing of thermal velocity boost, it could go higher the better cooling you had. So if you have a small air cooler, it could do maybe 5 gigahertz.
You automatically get benefit of investing in better cooling.
Yeah, indeed. And that's also what you see in this generation. And yeah, this is the first generation where Intel is disclosing these TDPs. And I believe if you're like an enthusiast, you already knew that also last generation was using a lot of power. But now you're looking to cool away 241 watts.
And it doesn't even mean that this is the maximum, because if you're going to do manual overclocking, you can even go beyond this number. But of course, if you're going to do that, make sure your cooling is good enough. Yeah. Because as you can see, these are quite serious numbers. So especially if you're going in like the 200 plus range, make sure to have a very cool, for example, all-in-one liquid cooler, custom liquid cooler with, for example, 360 millimeter radiator. Yeah. Because you really need that if you're going to push these kind of power draws through a CPU.
So the socket, the CPU socket also changed a little bit. It's lower. And this basically means when you have a cooler, you need to watch out what you attach.
Here you also see it with air coolers. So when you, for example, have an air cooler with the heat pipes spread apart a little bit, you can get that the heat spot is not directly on the heat pipe, so that can result in higher temperatures. So it's really important where the actual cooling performance of the CPU cooler is in relation to the heat spot on the CPU.
Some question in chat, is this backwards compatible with 10 and 11 gen? No, this is a different socket, meaning new mainboards.
The size is a lot different. So when I show you the CPUs up close, this is the new 12th gen and this is the size of 10th and 11th. This is a 11 one, so this is the Core i9 11900K, and this is the 12900K.
Yeah. So yeah.
Is it a fanless chipset? Yes, it is.
Yeah. Intel always had that, like the last 10 years or longer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Way longer even. I think before it was NVIDIA Enforce.
That was the active one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Long time. Oh, that's already 18,
long time
16
ago.
years ago or something.
Yeah, something like that.
That's a long time ago. Yeah. So I mean, you can cool it with an air cooler, but if you want the best performance, like we already talked about in the previous live streams when we talked about water cooling, we advise you to use water cooling, especially in this generation, and not a small water cooling. We have something here, right?
Yep.
So best to use on these CPUs. It's. Can I put it on the main board?
Yeah, yeah.
No, maybe I go to main here. I can do that here. Yeah.
Yeah. So use the bigger all-in-one liquid coolers. Especially the higher you go, the more important this gets. Of course, for an i7, i9, this will be even more crucial than for an i5 because you have more cores, more power draw. So try to go for the bigger ones. Like a 120mm cooler on a Core i9 will not cut it in most situations. Of course, this also depends on the case you're using, on the airflow that you have in your case, etc. But you will need proper cooling for these CPUs in order to get the maximum out of them. So here we, for example, have our Core Liquid S series, the new one. This is a 280mm model.
A few weeks ago we talked about this one.
So radiator with 2 times 140mm fans, so also a bit bigger than the 240 models that you may be familiar with. And here we have our MPG Core Liquid K360, so 360mm radiator with 3 120mm fans. So these are the kind of CPU cooler sizes that you should be looking at for these new 12th gen Intel Core processors, especially when you're going Core i7, Core i9.
And when you purchase one of these coolers or one of the liquid coolers, because that's what we recommend, make sure it has a bracket for LGA. What is it? 1700 nowadays, right?
Yeah. So the MEG Core Liquid S series, they come with the LGA 1700 out of the box. Yeah. The same goes for our new C and P series, but for the K series and the R series, the new models. The V2 models also come with the LGA 1700 bracket out of the box, but if you have an earlier model, you can apply for a free bracket. You can find more information about that on our website, so you can still use your MSI liquid cooler on one of these new LGA 1700 processors. Yeah,
so Logis on YouTube is asking, so the heat spots vary, do we need a different cooler for that? Well, it's very possible that your current cooler is not made for that. So you need to keep that in mind. Probably the vendor of your current cooler will update his website, talking about compatibility, or have like what we have for some coolers which don't have the retention bracket, we will send it to you so people can get that. But it's very important to have a compatible bracket and to have the right cooler. So really check for compatibility list because you saw the TDPs, CPU can get hot, and especially if you want good performance, you don't want this thing to throttle because there is so much potential performance, and I cannot say how much, but yeah, you don't want to throw that away by having a crappy cooler. So and that's really something to invest. So it's not only the main board, you need to also consider about memory. But yeah, for sure invest in a good cooler, because if you buy this, you want performance, Z690, then also make sure you get performance. This one is...
that one is filled.
Yeah.
So don't throw it.
So let's talk a little bit about memory.
DDR5, I have a kit right here. So this is one of the Kingston Fury kits. It's a 32 gigabyte kit, so 2 modules of 16 gigabytes, and this is DDR5 5200. So that's very fast memory. Do we also have a DDR4 kit here, by the way, for comparison later?
Nope.
I think you have an image, right?
Yeah.
So maybe when I show you, it looks, kind of normal, but there are a few changes under the hood when comparing this to DDR4. And then I'm not just talking about the pinout, but there is also on the PCB, there is a big difference.
Yeah, normally we would say like DDR3 to DDR4, it's faster.
Yeah.
And that's also in the case, I mean, it always depends on what kind of speed you are comparing. That's also the case of DDR5. However, there are a lot of technology differences below the heat spreader, if there's any. First of all, the pin layout, it's the same, 288 pins. However, the notch, maybe you can show you the notch on the motherboard.
Yeah.
It's different.
Let me grab a module and a DDR4 board. Then you can see that it's not the same.
Force it in.
Let me quickly check which one. Yeah, this is the DDR4. So,
label on the outside, not? Well, it doesn't fit anyway.
No, it doesn't fit. But let me show you that it doesn't.
Angle, yeah.
It's not in the right place.
Maybe like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's in the middle. And I already saw, who was it? I think Ian from Anantec in his YouTube video complaining, I really don't know why they don't put it to the left or the right, you know, make it so close in the middle that there's almost no difference. I also don't know the answer to that. But yeah, that's one of the differences. Then the dimensions of the memory chips are different. So the DDR5 chips are bigger. And there are also a lot of new features into the chip, like ECC control, error correction on die. And the biggest change is the PMIC. And this is a big change. Basically, I have some slides about that. Basically, the VRM for the memory is now on, the VRM of the memory. Yeah. It used to be on the board. Maybe you can show where it used to be.
I think that one is quite well hidden.
But normally on the left side next to the memory. No.
No, well, let me see.
Here, this is it.
That's the choke, but the IC is right next to it.
Yeah, I'm not talking about the IC, but just the whole VRM.
Right there you can see it. So you have a choke, so it's basically the small power delivery circuit that you also know from the VRM with choke capacitor and
yeah, so this is on DDR4 and on DDR5 this is moved to the memory module.
And this also you can actually see that I have the exact same board here with the
that's
DDR5 version.
Yeah.
If you see them side by side, you can see that on the DDR4 version you have the power circuit here, so you see more capacitors, chokes, etc. than you see on the DDR5 model. And that's because it's now integrated onto the memory module.
Yeah, and this PMIC generates a lot of heat. So, and it's not only it's also the inductors next to the PMIC. But yeah, a lot of heat is generated by this, and you also need to keep that in mind. If we talk about our lineup, we already showed you before. We have some DDR4 mainboards and DDR5 mainboards. As you can see from this lineup, you see that DDR5 mainboards are the more high-end mainboards, so the MPG segment, MEG segment, and DDR4 are the we have one MPG model.
Yeah, the Edge you can also have indeed with DDR4.
Indeed, and then Tomahawk and then the Pro motherboards. And this is the lineup at launch. We're not allowed to sell at this moment. Next week we're allowed to sell, so you will find the motherboards in the store. Depending on what kind of configuration you're going to use on your board, and this is quite technical, you get different default performances. So depending on how many, if you have a 2-DIMM board, or a
4-DIMM board, so for example if you have Unify or Unify X, or a Mini ITX, also a 2-DIMM board. It also depends if you have single rank or dual rank. It depends if you use 1 DIMM per channel, 2 DIMM per channel. So a lot of variables that define what the memory frequency can be.
Yeah, so it can differ between 3600 and 4800, and that's quite a big range.
Yeah.
We will talk in 2 weeks about this more in detail. What's interesting, if you look at the 11th gen DDR4, it has a burst length of 8, and basically there is one memory controller in the CPU which sends it to channel A and channel B, your memory DIMMs. If you have a 2 DIMM board or a 4 DIMM board, then it's 2 DIMMs per channel. With 12th gen DDR4 boards, you still have a burst length of 8, however there are 2 DDR4 memory controllers in. So basically, and we cannot show you numbers, but you get more DDR4 performance on a 12 with a 12 gen CPU on a Z690 motherboard. And how big this difference is, we will show you in 2 weeks' time. And then if you use DDR5, DDR5 is using a burst length 16, meaning it can send more data at the same time. And each DIMM has 2 channels. So the memory chips on the left side are channel A and on the right side are channel B. So I don't want to compare this really with rate, but basically you can send faster data to your memory, to your DDR5 memory. This comes at the cost of higher latency. And that's also why you probably saw all the high latencies. It's not that bad. I mean, it all comes down to how much performance you really get.
And it goes hand in hand. The higher frequency also comes with a higher latency, but it doesn't mean that if your latency is higher that you will get lower performance, because when your frequency increases, you in some situations it will still help you a lot in terms of performance. So it really helps in specific scenarios, benefit more from very high frequencies than others. And also, but later on we will show you more details, numbers about this as well. This new memory layout that you have also in certain situations will make bigger differences than in others. Yeah. So it's really, really specific what you're going to do, if it will benefit you only a little bit or a lot.
And then also what's important to watch out for is you have memory with only 4 DIMMs or memory, DDR5 memory with, actually this also accounts for DDR4, with 8 chips by 8. Basically first I start with by 8 chips because the chips are not that big. If you want to, for example, DIMMs of 16 gigabyte, it's, do I say that correctly? It's 8 times 2, yeah. Mm-hmm. Later there will be bigger memory chips. So they can do that, what they call by 16, and then there are 4 chips of 4, which is also 16 gig. This performance is lower. So watch out what kind of DDR memory you buy, no matter DDR4 or DDR5.
And that's what you will see on the very big modules, for example. In order to get that capacity on a module, there has to be some kind of sacrifice.
In 2 weeks' time we will show you how much the performance is cost, and it's, if you pay a lot for DDR5 or for DDR4 for that matter,
it also depends what's more important to you. Do you want to have the fastest memory or do you want to have the biggest capacity?
Yeah, indeed.
Because you have
but the biggest capacity normally is also available with the by 8.
Yeah, but not with the. No, I don't think so. The very big one.
The very big one. No, yeah. Indeed. So this VRM or the PMIC is now on the memory. And this also means that the power going into it's a bit different, because in the past we delivered the 1.2 volt for DDR4?
1.25, 1.1 was the official spec.
So we delivered that to the memory, but now we deliver 5 volt to the DDR5
so that
memory.
Sounds like a lot, because we're at like 1.1 is like the default for DDR4. Yeah. But yeah, it's now 5 volt from the motherboard to the DIMM itself, and then the DIMM itself with the PMIC will get the right voltage for that specific module. And that depends, of course, on what kind of module it is, what kind of frequency it runs. Usually you see for the faster modules you get a slightly increased voltage. So yeah, it all happens on the module now. It's a bit like a couple of months ago we talked about the 12 volt only motherboard, and there you see that this is moved from the power supply to the motherboard, and here you can also see that one of these ICs is transferred from the motherboard to the memory module. One of the reasons for this is also that it's you get a more stable memory voltage, because you don't have to push it through the memory slot first. Yeah. It's all on the same PCB. So basically you get a clearer memory voltage, which will also help you when you're running very high frequencies.
And basically this is moving cost from the motherboard to the memory.
Yes.
And then, I mean, I know your logical reaction.
Does that mean the DDR5 motherboards are cheaper than the DDR4?
No, because there are a lot of other factors.
For example, Smt Soldering that you see now on the DDR5 boards.
Pci Express Gen 5 and so many other things. So If we look at the power modes, there are different power modes. We have the security mode, then the voltages you can push to your DDR5 memory are limited. You have the program mode and you have the OC mode. We run by default everything in the program mode, meaning you can change your voltages, but not to the extreme. When an overclocker wants to do that, you need to enable the OC mode in the BIOS. So this is also to protect you a little bit. We can have higher voltages, you can play a lot with memory. And one of the new things of DDR5 is XMP 3.0. And those for you who have an MSI board already know, in the BIOS there is an XMP button on top. You can enable and disable XMP. If you have XMP 2.0 you can select the different profiles. Now with DDR5 you have 5 profiles.
That's a lot more than DDR4, and also gives you a lot more options.
And one of the options is that you have 2 writable profiles, meaning that in the MSI BIOS you can fine-tune your memory, you can train your memory, you can save this as a profile, and this profile you can write to your memory SPD chip.
So that's writing it to the module itself. So when you move that module to a different motherboard, you can still select that preset from that other motherboard, because you're really writing those settings into the module instead of just defining them into the BIOS. Yeah.
And I already saw from Corsair, they can do this in their software as well. So what's the software called from them?
IQ, I believe.
Yeah. So they can do it in there. I'm not sure. Yeah, they're probably also writing to the memory.
Yeah.
In MSI BIOS, we have a lot of options for memory training, basically memory fine-tuning. Hopefully in 2 weeks' time we will go into it, but it's above my pay grade. Even if they would pay me more, I wouldn't understand.
Above your knowledge.
Yeah, it's really complicated. So
yeah, it's really complex. But basically, simply said, you get the DDR5 modules. Instead of offering up to 2 XMP profiles, you can have up to 5 XMP profiles. 3 are already occupied by the memory vendor. So in this situation, you have Kingston Fury. And the other 2 you can use to write in your own XMP profile that you can fully customize, fully optimize for your specific module. Because sometimes, even if you buy the exact same module, they differ in terms of performance, like CPUs do. And then you can really define, fine-tune it, and write it onto the module.
Yeah, very low-key on YouTube is saying the average user will only use 1 profile though. Yeah, that's absolutely right.
You still have that option. You still have those vendor XMP profiles as well.
Yeah.
So if you don't want to fine-tune it, if you don't want to go very deep into it, that's fine as well. You just select one of the preset XMP profiles that's already on the module. Yeah.
So maybe show again the back of the motherboards. When you hear me crying, it's like a DDR4 board.
So this is a DDR5 board.
Maybe show where the memory is and how it feels.
Right here. Completely smooth.
No tears?
No tears.
So this is what we call Smt soldering. So the pins are basically missing, and that's how you can recognize an MSI DDR5 board. And DDR4 boards, maybe you can do the same?
That one will hurt a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah,
right
there
here.
You have the typical pins.
Yeah.
And if you try to grab a mainboard over there, you will feel it.
Yeah, it hurts. And it's not only on the DDR5 slots, but it's also on the Pci Express Gen 5 slots. So that one is right here. You can see that there are also no pins. Whereas on the Gen 4 slots right here, you can see the pins, but not for the times 16 slot right there.
Okay, then we also have on the back of the MAG motherboards, we have some extra strip over there for anti-bending.
Yeah, it's right here.
Yeah, so we have the plate, the back plate.
A little bit hard to see.
Yeah,
but it's got reinforcement underneath. And that is done if you, the Smt soldering process, you want to have the PCB as straight as possible in order not to damage it. So if, for example, your motherboard is inside the case and you put in a module, and if it doesn't go in very easily, people automatically press a little bit harder, but that can bend your PCB, and you don't want to destroy the SMD soldering there.
I had a nice joke, but
What was your joke?
Yeah, I will not.
How many boards did you already break like
No,
that?
no. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Pci 5, but maybe first repeat our giveaway. Today we have a special giveaway. You can join if you want to go to msi.com/2/insider. I believe on Facebook and YouTube we have a pinned post. On YouTube and Twitch you will see our weekly spam bot sending out the Gleam link as well, on which you can click and join. Really nice giveaway, but please keep in mind you also will need to have a new CPU. Are we going to give away DDR5 or DDR4 board?
DDR5.
DDR5. You will need new memory, and you will need a...
the carbon is only in DDR5.
Oh yeah,
it doesn't
sorry,
exist in
correct,
DDR4.
correct. And you need a liquid cooling, so good luck. It's a nice price, because in a few weeks time you will hear and see about the performance.
It's a start for a new system.
It's a very nice start for a very nice system. So maybe let's take a board and talk about Pci Express Gen 5.
So the Pci Express Gen 5 is only on this slot in this situation. So the primary Pci Express slot. Some boards can also that support SLI can also divide it up to two different slots, as you can see here.
Yeah, so this will be, instead of 1x16, it will be 2x8.
2x8 indeed.
But 1x8 Gen 5 is the same like 1x16 Gen 4.
Yeah, in terms of bandwidth, yeah, that's identical.
But of course you need a GPU which support that.
Yeah. So as I already mentioned, the Smt Soldering is also for the Pci Express Gen 5. So you can easily recognize the slots that are not Gen 5, because there you will still see the pins. That also means that the boards that support SLI and can divide them, they will have the Smt soldering on both PCI Express slots.
Lol, it will be an expensive win. Yeah, you can see it like that, but it will also be
or it will be a cheaper system. It's just how you look at it.
Indeed. Okay, so let's also talk a little bit about M.2 Gen 5. At this moment, it will still take a very one moment. Let me go here. So it will still take a long time before these SSDs enter the market. Maybe you saw online that I don't know how to pronounce it.
Kioxia? I'm not sure.
Actually, this is one of the parent companies of Phison. We talked with last week. Was it last week? Yeah. Really interesting. If you missed it, really interesting interview. Phison talked about not only Pci Express Gen 5, but also Gen 6 already and Gen 7, on which they're already working. So a lot of
in-depth knowledge in terms of SSD storage.
Yeah, was really interesting. So these SSDs, Gen 5 SSDs, will come on the market early 2022 for the enterprise market. And the enterprise market means not only big sizes, special form factors, of course Gen 5 speeds, but also high price. For the consumer market, that will be more later in the second half, so that will take a long time. Phison already told us last week during the talk with him that the performance will be up to 14 gigabytes per second. So that's from 7 to 14, that's more than double. But also the power consumption of the M.2 Gen 5 SSDs will go up. And that was going up to, I think, above 10 or something, right? Or maybe also to 14. So you was talking about that in
cooling will become a bigger factor.
Yeah, in Gen 4 you already see a lot of heat sinks. Maybe Michiel, you can show over there as well.
Here I have like the separate heatsink. This is what comes with our new Spatium M480 SSDs. Or well, you also have a version without heatsink, I believe.
Yeah.
But you can also get a version with the heatsink. So this is the SSD itself.
Doesn't mean we will see MSI Spatium available as Gen 5 in the future. Yes, I guess so, but it's really too far to talk about, maybe even 1 year out, if you talk about Gen 5 M.2. Will SLI still work on Z690? Yes, the motherboards who can do two. Well, I don't want to guarantee this on all models, but most models who can do two PCI Express Gen 5 can also do SLI indeed. So yeah, so that's for the M.2. Michiel already talked about it. This generation you can have a lot of M.2 slots. So maybe Michiel take, for example...
I can grab Unify, for example, to show you.
Sometimes it's difficult picking the board from the desk right here, right?
I'm going to hand you over to Motherboard, so I have some space.
Oh, you need space. I also need space. Don't drop this.
Let me grab a screwdriver as well.
Oh,
no, don't drop it indeed.
I'm just going to put it here. I will damage something.
Yeah, don't damage them. So here in the preview you also see one of our Unify models. That's a regular Unify. I now have the Unify X, but in terms of SSD storage they're identical.
Will GPUs work in Gen 5 X8 with normal full speed? No, not by default, because you need to have a Gen 5 supported GPU. So, and the current generation of GPUs, as far as we know, they only do Gen 4. So you cannot just run them in Gen 5 X8 and expecting by 16 Gen 4 speeds. However, I mean, yeah, it's only a matter of time, I would say. I don't know anything, right? But I would say normally it's a matter of time before GPU vendors follow suit, and they also introduce Gen 5 compatible GPUs, but no promises on that. So yeah, here you see it. Do we have this many SSDs?
I don't have that many on hand right now.
Well, I can help you a little bit. I see here. I see here too.
I have a few, yeah.
I don't know what this is. So you already have 4.
Yeah.
So today we're not allowed to talk about performance, but we're also not allowed to show you an active demo. Yeah. That's why we have screenshots from the BIOS. That's why we cannot show you any CPU in the socket, because otherwise probably we get a phone call. And I will tell, yeah, Michiel did it.
As usual.
As usual, yeah.
Yeah, so now I've got 4 right here. I'm not going to attach all of them.
Yeah.
I actually did this on purpose. Let me see if I did it correctly. I think this is the other way around.
Yeah,
because this is a Gen 3 SSD, and one of the 5 slots on here is Gen 3. And that all has to do with the PCI Express lanes available from the chipset. At a certain point you also run out of PCI Express Gen 4 lanes there. So in order to still get that extra 5th M.2 slot, that's a Gen 3 slot. For example, if we take a look at the Gaming Edge Wi-Fi, this one has got 4 M.2 slots. So in that situation, it's possible to have them all Gen 4, because then the chipset offers enough lanes to make all of them Gen 4.
Yeah, maybe you can also show the M.2 lash.
Yes.
Oh. We need a bigger desk.
Yes, we do.
X center.
Can you give me a tomahawk?
A tomahawk. And this one goes here.
Yeah.
Because this generation, we also have a very nice improvement.
Let me grab an SSD.
Do you need a mobile cam?
Later on. Let me first put it in here.
Let me see.
Because this is quite detailed.
Yeah, it is really small.
So you will need to film it.
Is it working?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Moment. Yeah.
There we go.
Ooh,
do you have
me?
steady hands?
Yeah. Everybody's sick.
So right here, there is the easy M.2 clip. So basically, you put in the SSD, you push it down, and then you only have to close this.
Well, maybe you can show without your hand in front of it.
So you put it in there.
Okay, maybe check
then
the monitor.
You push it down.
Yeah.
And then you close.
No.
Yeah. How am I gonna do it? My pinky?
Other hand. Other
like
hand.
This?
Yeah, like this.
So you don't have to screw it in anymore.
Yeah. And so we have that on all slots, right?
And in this situation, it depends per board. It's not on every motherboard. For example, Mini ITX, because of size constraints, it was harder.
Yeah.
Because it has a very exotic M.2 layout.
Is it still working?
Yeah, let me show you. This one, for example. This one, for example, has them stacked on top of each other.
One moment, let me.
And another one on the back.
Push this.
So there it works differently. So it can depend per slot. But it's called the Easy M.2 clip, and it makes installation process a lot easier and faster.
Especially for me, because I always hate those small M.2 screws. I really don't know who came up with that.
This is also a nice one. You may be bothered in the past by the screws dropping out. This way, it's fixed in there. So if you turn it around, upside down.
This feature we call jar-proof.
Yeah, because he always loses the screws. Not possible anymore with this one. Let me screw this back together. Of course, this is only for
good question in the chat from Jan. Can I still use screws?
Yes, I think you can actually take the clip out, because there is still a screw in there. Let me try that right away. That's actually a good question.
We're only 10 minutes behind schedule, Michiel.
Okay. If you screw it out, I think you can. Yeah, then you have a regular screw hole. I think you can even push.
Can
the plastic part.
I show that? Where are we? Where are we?
I think, yeah. It's all very tiny. Yeah, basically here you get the regular screw hole there, and then you can just use a normal M.2 screw instead of the.
They're not normal.
Yeah, they're very small. They're
Yeah,
very small.
A normal, very
that's
small.
Why we have the clip. So yes, you have, when you have the clip. Wait, are you still on?
Yeah, come on.
When you have the clip, let me see. You can see there is a screw in there, and you can actually screw that all the way out, and then you can just use it as a normal M.2 screw as well.
Yeah. Okay. Also double-sided.
Yeah, that's dependent on the board. So for example, here I'm using the Tomahawk. This one has single-sided M.2 shield frozzer. But on our MPG and MEG models, you will find the dual-sided version.
Yeah, and dual-sided, that makes a...
Let me maybe keep this open, then I can show you the difference.
Yeah, I will show some benchmarks. This is done with a Seagate Firecuda 530. And as you can see, if there's no, this is Gen 5 SSD, if there's no, can people see my mouse? That's a bit difficult anyway. No. Ah yeah, here. It's, anyway, if there's no heatsink, you see it's after 32 seconds it's going to throttle. And it's not about Seagate, this is with all the brands, because Gen 4, it's very fast, it gets hot very fast, so it needs a decent heatsink. And by default, the standard, the Firecuda 530 also comes with heatsink, but we removed it for this test. So it's just a naked M.2 Gen 4 SSD. If we're going to use a motherboard with one-sided, how do you call it?
M.2 shield frozzer.
Yeah, yeah, indeed. Maybe you can show the back side of it.
This is, for example, the single-sided one. So you have the heatsink right here with the thermal pad.
So that's where the heatsink links.
On top here.
Yeah. So in the bottom there is no cooling in this one. And then you get this kind of result. So it's not only
this depends very much on the SSD you use as well.
Sure.
Because this is a test with a dual-sided SSD. So it's probably, I believe this is a 2 terabyte one. I also have.
Indeed.
Let me quickly grab the 1 and the 2 terabyte M480s. So this is a 1 terabyte M480. And if you look at the side, you can see that
the back is empty.
Yeah, the back is empty. So the flash chips are all on top of the SSD. So when you, for example, have the single-sided M.2 shield frozzer like the Tomahawk, it gets on top and it will cool the part with the chip. So that's totally fine when you use these kind of SSDs. But when you go for larger capacities, so for example, like the M480 2 terabytes, you see that you do not only have the chips on the top of the PCB, but also on the bottom.
Very difficult to see.
Yeah, it's very thin. So yeah, it's maybe a little bit hard to see, but this one doesn't have, or this one does have chips on the back and this one doesn't.
Yeah.
So yeah, that makes a difference in cooling.
Yeah, and if we then look at this one, this is with one single-sided. It still is
single-sided cooling, but the dual-sided SSD.
Yeah, so it's still throttling, but only after 3 minutes instead of 32 seconds. What is it, 32? Yeah, 32 seconds. And this is with dual.
And that's what we, for example, have on this Unified.
Yeah.
So it also looks a lot different. So you see that you have heat sinks underneath the SSD as well, with the thermal pad as well.
And then you put the top heatsink on top of it.
Yeah.
So it's dual-sided.
So
and here you can see there is no throttling going on. The maximum temperature is 59 degrees. And without throttling, you have the best performance, of course, because your data is transferred ASAP without any speed bumps.
Yeah, so this is especially important when you want to go for larger sized, fast SSDs with chips on both sides. Then make sure to get the dual-sided and the two-shield throtter for that.
So we also have a M.2 Gen 5 PCI Express add-in card.
Yeah, I have it right here.
Yeah, sorry. I think we don't have any time to unscrew it.
No, I can show it from the side.
Yeah, so there's a hefty heatsink on top of it to cool this because Gen 5.
And a fan, but you can switch it off with one of the dip switches here. If you, one is for the fan and one is for the LED.
Gen 5 gets hot. So this is something for the future because M.2 Gen 5 SSDs will still take a long time before they enter the market, before they enter the consumer market.
But when they're available with one of these, you can, of course, use them. But it will take lanes away from your GPU. That's important to mention.
Yes, so you need to split up your GPU instead of 1x16, 2x8.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about the MSI motherboards because we now talked about CPU, we talked about the memory, we talked about storage.
Mm-hmm. Let me screw these back together, by the way, in the meanwhile.
Yeah, so some big improvements we made, and that's of course also based on the chipset. We went from Pci Express Gen 4 and DDR4 to Pci Express Gen 5 and DDR5 if you want. There are also DDR4 flavors. And I see already a lot of people saying, yeah, the next 3 years it's good enough to have DDR4. Yeah, can be true. I would say wait until next week, until you see the performance difference between DDR5 and DDR4, and then you will see exactly what kind of memory you need of DDR5 to have a good enough performance benefit, and what kind of price premium you pay for this DDR5, and then you can decide if that's interesting enough. The motherboards are also upgraded. In the last generation, for example, they had 90 amps power stage, and now we went to 105 amp. And of course, it depends on the model. If it's
that's for all the MEG models have 105 amp. Even the Mini ITX one.
Yeah, indeed.
Has got 10 105 amp smart power stages. Yeah. So that's a lot of VRM strength for a Mini ITX motherboard.
Yeah, so we also upgraded the PCB layers. Last generation only the Mini ITX had up to 10 layers, now it's already up to 12 layers of the PCBs. They get more complex. This is not only because of the DDR5 memory, but also because of Pci Express Gen 5. And of course this all comes at a cost. And then we just talked about it, storage, a lot of M.2 slots, and I think on what is the, I mean here we have Tomahawk, you already get 1, 2, 3. What's the Pro board?
No, you got 4 on Tomahawk.
Oh yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
Oh wow, the Pro board, okay.
Pro board also has
3.
4.
No, 4.
No, 4.
My
this
God.
is the A, but there will also be a P model that has 2.
Yeah. So yeah, enough storage for you. And this is also a trend what we talked about last week in the market. You see SSDs getting cheaper, SSDs getting faster, and more affordable. That's the same like cheaper, okay?
Yeah, but
good
it's
point.
also people are upgrading their SSDs, for example, to a Gen 4 model, but still want to keep on using their
old model,
or
old
their
SSD.
Gen 3.
Yeah.
It's a bit like you also saw with when people were going from SATA to M.2. They put their M.2 in their motherboard, of course, but they still kept using their SATA, for example, for storing games or whatever what you want to do with it. Yeah. So yeah, it's the same like this, and that's why more M.2 slots are becoming more and more important. So apart from getting the fastest SSD in your new build, you can also take your old SSDs with you in case you need more storage.
Yeah, these details I will skip now, we will talk about later, but also features like HDMI 2.1, Wi-Fi 6E, more USB 20 gig ports, etc, etc. So VRM, we already touched a little bit about this. At this moment we don't have a motherboard on which we remove the heat sinks, so you will have to do with this picture. Why don't we have that, Michiel?
I can remove one if you want.
Nah, we don't have time. We're already like 20 minutes behind schedule. Ja will be happy.
This is a Unify one. While you talk, I can unscrew one.
Nah. We will do that later. Anyway, if you look at Ace, we have direct 19 phase.
And basically, you will see the same that you see in the image on the right. So it's not, yeah.
Yeah, indeed. So you just get a beefed up VRM, and that's to get enough power to the CPU, of course. And yeah, these are really high quality phases, high quality VRMs, which
105 amp smart power stages. So it's 19 of them on the Unify, the ATX Unify models, both of them. So Unify X, and the Z690 Ace.
Then all the other models are using the Do-It-Real power system. Basically, a lot of Dr. Moss phase, and Dr. Moss, probably you already know, we use this like 15 years already.
Yeah, quite a long
P45,
time.
maybe P35.
Yeah.
That's
so they're not smart power stages, but they still integrate everything into
power
one
stages. Yeah, it's a 3-in-1 package.
Yeah, they don't have the smart capabilities that.
It's the driver, the high and the low MOSFET into one chip indeed.
Yeah. And they're also very strong ones, so you get at least 14 of them, and even the Pro models, for example, have 70 amp Dr. Moss on there.
Let me see, what's the Pro motherboard?
I think it's in front of you somewhere.
So this one?
Yes.
Yeah, so this one also has 2x8 pins.
Yeah. Right there.
It takes time to make a godlike. Yeah, that's a good comment, and I leave it to that. How does a person enter for a motherboard? On YouTube.
MSI.com/2/insider, or on Twitch or YouTube, you can follow the direct link that the bot puts in the chat every 5 minutes.
Well, that was a short version.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So if you look at the VRMs we just talked about, all on the left side you see the Z500 series, so the Z590 basically. Yeah. On the right side you see the new Z690. And yeah, you see that each motherboard has a beefed up VRM with either the same number of phases, but direct power instead of in the past what we had with doublers or something, or with higher power stages. I should not touch too many cables below the desk.
If the lights turn off all of a sudden, then we know.
Yeah. I can do that. I have a remote here. I can scare you. Besides that, also what we talked about already, we use 2-ounce copper in the PCB, server grade PCB, and this all to ensure this Pci Express Gen 5 and this DDR5 signal integrity. These are really high speeds, and in order to not get any errors, you need to have quality material to deliver them, for example, to your memory or to the Pci Express slots. And I still remember the first time with Pci Express Gen 4, this was really a big challenge. And I see now with Pci Express Gen 5, yeah, it just requires more layers, more R&D in order to
basically,
make this.
Basically, the faster you go, the clearer the signal needs to
be.
And
indeed.
As in this platform, it's double important because you get both DDR5 and PCI Express Gen 5. So yeah, the memory signal and the PCI Express signal, they need to be super clear in order to get that transfer speeds and through properly.
As you can see, the Mini ITX, this one.
Yeah.
Hey, my hands. Hello. Oh, we should make a we should make some graphic that I have a long hand. This is cool. Anyway, this is using 12 layers. So yeah, that's quite an engineering.
Yeah, that's really a lot. The previous generation already had 10 layers for Mini ITX, which is already a lot. But in order to fit everything on this tiny little motherboard, because even though it's a Mini ITX, it still gives you 3 M.2 slots. So yeah, in order to fit everything on here, of course, DDR5 support, PCI Express Gen 5 support, 3 times M.2. Yeah, we needed 12 layers to get everything on it.
Do the motherboard support the Corsair RGB controller? I think on most boards we have, not most, I should say on the MPG boards we have a Corsair pin header, right?
Yes, I can show you.
Yeah, it's too small for the cam, but
it should be doable. Right there, you see a dedicated Corsair header.
yeah.
So it's also called J Corsair, so it's very easy to find, and you will find this on the higher end models.
I would say MEG, maybe even MPG.
No, I think the MPG Force and Carbon both offer it as well.
Is this one? Yeah.
Yeah, and also the Force, for example, I have right here. That one also has the dedicated J Corsair.
So you can connect
RGB
to the
header.
RGB ecosystem from Corsair as well. Let me get this working. It's an animation about cooling. That's not easy. No. Yeah.
Maybe press play. That may work.
I lost my mouse.
I can see it here.
Yeah, but it should not be there. It should be here. What?
Maybe try to get it back on the screen because it's up
there it is.
there.
There it is. There it is.
So this is what we call an exploded view.
Yeah. No
So
fireworks involved.
No, but you see everything opening up basically. So you see on the VRM, it's got very extensive cooling. This example is the Edge, but also the Carbon, Force, and all MEG models. They all have a heat pipe in the VRM heatsinks as well. We always had the thermal pads in between the heatsink and the MOSFETs, but as of recently, we're also including thermal pads between the heatsink and the chokes. And it's not specifically because the chokes themselves get really hot, but they get heated up by the VRM components around them. So by having thermal pads on them as well, it's easier to dissipate the heat from the total VRM solution on the motherboard.
Yeah, so each generation we learn how to improve the situation on the VRM. And yeah, nowadays with the high core count, high frequency CPUs, everything gets heated up and you need to cool that away in order to prevent throttling. Some questions from the chat. Let me see. There's a fan somewhere. No, we only have a fan
only on the mini ITX model.
Yeah.
It's there is a fan here, but it's semi-passive, so it will only start spinning if it actually needs to, based on the temperature. So for example, if you're going for a really tiny case with very limited airflow, then it can help with your VRM cooling. But if you have a slightly bigger ITX case with proper airflow and the temperatures are all fine, then it will remain passive. So it does support zero frost technology. So basically it doesn't bother you if you don't need it. And if it starts bothering you, that means that you actually need the help of that fan in order to keep
this
your
is the
temperatures.
double ball bearing, so it's quality, zero frost, what Michiel said, so most of the times you don't hear it. And this is also actually the case on the X570 the X570 boards. A lot of people, I understand you hate fans, but most times this is because you think they're making noise, or you remember the old fans from 20 years ago, those heatsink fans which broke down when you looked at it. But yeah, nowadays fans are really high quality and they're smart, meaning they only run when you need to.
Yeah.
Also, if we talk about cooling, we have the back plate. I think on this one, it's aluminium back plate. This also helps with cooling.
So it also has thermal pads. I can show you a little bit from the side. So this is the back side of the VRM, so behind the MOSFETs. And you see that you have a thermal pad in between it, so it will also help to cool from the back of the motherboard. And you will see it on both sides because you have power stages on both sides.
Yeah. How about the Godlike model? Like what somebody said in the chat, it takes more time, I guess?
It takes time to build a Godlike.
Yeah. Takes time to build a Godlike, yeah, indeed. You can IQ control MSI RGB now. Yes, I believe so. With IQ you can control MSI RGB, right?
I'm not sure if you can control the motherboards through IQ. I know
you can connect to it. Yeah, okay, that's something different.
Yeah.
Good point.
But I think, for example, when you have Corsair RGB memory modules,
that works.
I think they cooperate with MSI center, and then you can control the RGB on the memory modules as well.
Indeed. When will Z690 release? So yesterday Intel announced this platform, and I believe next week Wednesday we are allowed to sell this. Next week Wednesday, right? Yeah. So and then you will also see the first benchmarks online. And 1 week later, on Wednesday, we're going to do our benchmarks and show you all the benchmark stuff we build up. Can you please explain what you need to use a Thunderbolt header? We have some motherboards, like this one, with built-in Thunderbolt. We're still in your view. Maybe you can point where the Thunderbolt ports are. So basically you get 2 Type-C ports and you get 2 mini display ports. That's for Thunderbolt.
They're talking about the header, so that's on the motherboard itself. Then you need an adding card with the connectors. So this one here, you don't need anything because it has Thunderbolt on the motherboard itself. Yeah,
and on a normal board you need an adding card to support Thunderbolt 3 or Thunderbolt 4. Will those motherboards support a fiber optic connection anytime soon? I don't think so, because if you look at the switches required for that, they're really expensive. Also the cables.
Direct fiber onto your motherboard? No,
yeah,
I don't think so.
Not anytime soon. No, indeed. We're now moving from 1 gigabyte LAN to 2.5 gigabit.
Is the standard nowadays?
Yeah, I don't want to say standard, but indeed, most models have
it.
For
this segment, yes.
But not everybody in the market is having that. And then 10 gigabit you can also find, but still switches are expensive. And cables you need to have, what is it, Cat6e or maybe even Cat7 cabling?
No, I think even with Cat6 you can do 10 gigabits per second already.
I thought Cat6e minimum.
No, that's if you go through a certain distance.
Oh, the length,
if the length is relatively short, you can do 10 gigabits per second with Cat6.
Yeah, so Texas Game, what is the price of DDR5? Best to check your local shop, because we know it's expensive. We know it's going to be 30 to 50% more expensive compared to DDR4. And in 2 weeks' time, when you watch our live stream, you will also know what kind of performance you get back for that. Would DDR Wednesday? Yeah, you can. I don't doubt that next week Wednesday you can buy the CPUs, you can buy the memory, and you can buy a selected set of motherboards. Meaning, I'm not sure if everything is actually everything for MSI. Everything is already MP, what we call
mass production.
Yeah, mass production. But of course, it takes time to get everything here, especially with all the COVID-19 shortages, the container shortages from Asia to either Europe or other parts in Asia or NALA, North America, Latin America. But yeah, we're shipping. I also see that memory, so yes, this will be available. And as always, in the beginning, so first of all, wait for benchmarks, that you know what you want to buy and what you pay for it. And in the beginning, you always pay a premium because it's, I don't want to say it's shortage, because shortage has a nasty tone if you compare it to the GPU shortage. It's not really shortage, it just did not arrive yet. That's a different kind of shortage. Yeah. It's rare. Anyway, but in a couple of weeks' time, volume will build up, and there will be enough inventory at all the stores, and then this small, I should not say, the possible premium at the shop should be gone. And yeah, in the beginning it's always like that. All the motherboard vendors, all the memory vendors are waiting for each other. Oh, what price is he going to do? What is there, and then everything sorts out at a competitive price level.
I saw a question, is the Dragon shining on the silver motherboard? Now on this board, the Dragon is not RGB. But you do get the RGB underneath the heatsink.
Yeah, like this.
Yeah. But on, for example, the Carbon, can you hand me the Carbon?
I have a difficulty picking models. This is the Carbon?
Yeah,
yes.
That's the Carbon. There you do have the illumination of the Dragon as well. There you
go. Alex is asking, will okay. Alex is asking, will Z690 DDR4 models still work in SLI with a 1080 Ti, for example? We will have to check, because I don't know the detailed specs. The Edge, this is our DDR4 board. Let me feel it. Yes.
So what is the
question is, will DDR4 board still support SLI? To the looks of it,
no.
Not 100% sure. This one.
No, it doesn't.
But technically they can. But
Yeah,
not,
we don't have any
yeah,
models that,
okay,
that
okay.
do that
Oh,
specific
Michiel knows.
combination. Yeah.
So
Because
yes,
this is the highest end DDR4 board, and that
Yeah.
one doesn't have it. It starts at carbon force,
yeah.
and those are
So
DDR5
technically,
ones.
maybe another vendor has a model which supported, but in MSI
Yeah.
at this moment we don't have a board for that, and that's just a choice.
We think if people are going to use that kind of connectivity, they will go for a higher end system and will also pick DDR5.
Yeah, sorry,
That's the
Alex.
thought process behind it, basically.
Yeah, let's maybe show extended heatsink. I think maybe
Yeah,
on
sure.
this model you can show that nice. That's also one of the most
Yeah.
not the entry level model.
So you see it stretches all the way over the ports on the I/O.
Yeah, so bigger heatsink.
So this is all metal.
aluminium.
Yeah.
Maybe against your teeth that people hear
Wait,
it.
let me also grab the other one. Yes, my teeth. Here it's also completely closed.
Yeah.
So this is our gaming edge.
This all to get the heat
Yeah.
away. Then in the MEG and MPG models we also have a heat pipe.
Yeah.
A model where you can show that easy.
Yeah, let me get this really close.
Ooh,
You
no,
can
maybe from
see
the
it in
side?
between, maybe.
From the back? From, oh, no.
Yeah, let me grab the Unify. It's a little bit easier to see it right here, I think. I think it's also
Mental
easier to
note,
see
next
it
time we need to disassemble. Yeah,
right there.
the silver thing. Oh yeah, there you
also
can see it.
more easily. So there is a big heat pipe in there.
Yeah, okay.
Why
Then-
are there so little PCI Express slots on the motherboards? That basically it's because most of the PCI Express lanes are now going into M.2 slots.
Yeah.
People are using very few adding cards. So most people, I would say at least 90% of people are only using a graphics card in there, a dedicated graphics card, and no other adding cards.
SLI is, I don't want to say dead, but it's
Close.
very difficult to use. You need to really, like, what is it, 3090
Oof,
nowadays,
yeah,
right?
I think 3090
Yeah.
only nowadays.
Or maybe 3080 Ti, not sure about that. Anyway, you need a high-end GPU. Maybe I go here. You need a high-end GPU. Besides that, you need software which support it and not many game developers. Since DirectX 12, the game developers need to implement a multi-GPU solutions. In the past, NVIDIA and AMD did this at driver level. And now with DirectX 12, this needs to be done by the game vendors. And it's a niche market, so they don't spend a lot of time on it. I don't want to say SLI and multi-GPU is dying. Nowadays
it's
also
not that popular anymore. So
no, also with
yeah.
DLSS and those kind of. I mean, 4K can be run in like high FPS nowadays.
Yeah, with those kind of features, you indeed can. And yeah, the demand for more M.2 slots is getting bigger and bigger. People want to
Absolutely.
use more and more M.2
Yeah.
SSDs. So you will see that more.
This is the
M.2
same
slots are
situation like in the
fewer.
past. We had like 6 SATA slots. Hey, why don't you have 8?
Yeah.
Oh, I have 10 hard disks.
At a certain point, we transfer over to
Yeah,
something else.
yeah.
Yeah.
Indeed.
And now you're going to see that more and more. As you can see that all boards that we have here right now, today, the Mini ITX has 3 times M.2 and all ATX have at least 4.
Yeah.
So that's already from the Pro series onwards. And on the higher end, even 5. So that's, yeah.
So let's talk about one of our EK motherboards. I believe you know in the past few years with, where did we start? Z490? At least
yeah, I think
Z490,
so.
Z590, X570. We always have a carbon EKX board, and this time we have it.
I saw a question, chat, by the way, do all motherboards have HDMI? No, for example, the Ace that I have right here does not. Also has to do with space. We expect people with this board to use a discrete graphics card. And as you can see, the I/O is so filled that you don't have space for another HDMI port, as this one also has, for example, dual Thunderbolt, dual LAN, stuff like that. So not on all boards, but by far most have HDMI, and they all support HDMI 2.1 as well as DisplayPort 1.4.
Yeah, power supply recommendation, we cannot talk about at this moment. I suggest to wait to check our stream in 2 weeks' time when we talk about all the performance and the power levels, and then we can talk about power supplies.
And of course, also very much depends on the graphics card that you're using.
Yeah. I would say there is not a big change on that. I mean, it's not that you need to double up your power supply because of Alder Lake consuming a lot of power. So we were talking about this. So Z690, carbon EKX, we'll have that as well. I don't have a good photo here, but we'll make that up to you. This motherboard not only cools the CPU, the MOSFETs, but also the M.2 slot. And well, I could
And that's
not...
new compared to the previous generations, because we were already cooling both the CPU and the VRM. But this generation, we added the primary M.2 slot to that.
Yeah, so we cannot show you performance of the CPU, etc., but we can show you temperatures of the M.2 slot. So here you see, and I have to watch because it's, sorry, left one, non-heatsink, is 91 degrees. The middle one, it's 63 degrees, very difficult to see.
So that's with the MSI heatsink?
Yeah, with the MSI heatsink, that's this one, for example. And then with the EK monoblock integrated like this one, we talk about 31 degrees. I don't have more details about the testing configuration of this, but probably in a few weeks' time, we will do a live stream together with EK.
We hope.
we hope. It depends on a lot of things.
Travel regulations and stuff like that.
Yeah, because Michiel probably is traveling to Slovenia to the EK headquarters, and from there we plan to do a live stream, and then we can talk about this model and a lot of new things, EK things as well, in detail.
So if you're into custom liquid cooler, then that's a live stream to look forward to.
Yes. But let's not get ahead of schedule. No. We already talked about Thunderbolt.
Ethereum is asking, are all motherboards capable of overclocking? Yes. All of these are a Z-series chipset and they can overclock both the CPU and the memory.
And they have indeed a very beefy VRM.
Yeah.
So, USB 20 gig, Michiel.
Yeah. And that one you will find right there.
Oh, one moment.
On the Type-C.
Yeah, so 20 gig, that is only available on Type-C, and you can get it either on the I/O panel as a Type-C or on the front header. Maybe you can show the front header. So, for example, if you have the Ace model, Michiel.
Yeah, let me see, right here. That one has dual front headers.
Yeah, that one has dual 20 gig Type-C on the front. Of course, you need a case which supports this as well.
There we go.
Yeah. And besides that, you have also, what is it, 5 gig, I believe, the other ones.
These ones, yeah.
Yeah. So you have 2x5 and 2x20.
But these can drive 4 ports in total, 2 per.
Oh yeah, indeed, you're right.
And then you have 2
Ooh,
times.
What case of would that be?
Yeah, you can get one with 6 USB front headers, and you can get 2 with USB 20G Type-C.
Yeah, and all the MSI MEG are using one Type-C 20 gig for the front.
Yeah.
LAN?
So let me grab Ace, because this one actually has dual LAN. And this is Intel 2.5 gigabit LAN.
Yeah.
And you will find that on all motherboards except for the P model from the Pro series. That one has Realtek LAN, I believe. The rest all has Intel 2.5 gigabit LAN.
Yeah, and like what we earlier already talked about, the DDR4 models come with. You are looking for one?
Yeah, I'm looking for.
You cannot see the difference, can you?
I can see the difference between
Wi-Fi 6 and 6E.
Yeah, of course. I can see there is no 6 gigahertz frequency here. Yeah, this is, as you can see on the back, it's a DDR4 model. So this one offers Wi-Fi 6. You can also read it. It's really small, but maybe you can read it.
I told you, nobody can see that.
Yeah, they can. It's Wi-Fi 6, you see?
Yeah, that's right.
Then, where's the other? Here's the other Tomahawk. So this is one with DDR5, as you can see on the back again. And there we have Wi-Fi 6E.
Damn, you're right.
It won't focus.
I'm sorry. You need to be patient. No.
I'm not this patient.
Oh, maybe your finger. Add your finger.
Hello.
Add means.
It was easier with the other one.
Hey.
Oh, almost.
Anyway, I think they get the point.
Yeah.
Audio, not a lot of changes in this generation.
But we did make a lot of change in the previous generation.
Yeah. If we let's talk about audio a bit. Audioboost 5 HD, so comes with the newest audio deck.
So no longer the HD audio interface, HDA, but USB interface.
Yeah.
And that will give you higher quality audio, you can now get up to 32-bit, 384 kilohertz, whereas with HD audio you were limited to maximum of 192 kilohertz. Also, for example, on the Ace motherboard, you will find a dedicated ESS DAC on there. So yeah, really high quality audio on these boards.
Yeah. I saw a question in the chat also about Windows 11. Yes, all these boards are Windows 11 compatible, like all the MSI boards from the last 3 to 5 years. 5, right?
Yeah, I think 4.
But depends on the CPU. I mean, we had a live stream about Windows 11 maybe
make sure
3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. If you're interested in that, indeed have a look over there.
So it's for Intel, it's from the 8th gen Intel Core onwards.
And AMD 2000.
Second gen, second gen Ryzen.
Second gen Zen. That can be also third gen of 3000 series, 2000 series, depending what CPU.
Yeah, but I think there are exceptions there because the 1600 12 nanometer Zen Plus version is not supported, even though it is a Zen Plus one. So yeah.
What's that beside the screwdriver? Well, let's talk about the screwdriver. Maybe you can take the goodies from what we bundle.
Here I have the screwdriver.
A screwdriver, not the screwdriver.
This is the.
Oh, one moment, like this. Yeah. So if you in the board, and then we are talking about the MPG and the MEG series, you find these screwdrivers.
Yeah.
Keychain with a screwdriver. You find a brush. And Michiel and I were discussing what is this brush for. We still don't know, right?
I like to use it to clean my keyboard.
But then we were like brainstorming, like, yeah, but okay, a keyboard is not bundled with a motherboard, so why?
So I was surprised why it was not bundled with a keyboard.
Yeah, so why?
This is instead of the driver disc.
Yeah, this is a driver DVD.
Yeah.
You get a USB key.
Interesting shape for a DVD, but yeah.
And then on all the models, MEG series as well, we have these sticker sets.
Yeah, it depends which one you have. This MPG, for example, this MEG.
Depending.
And also for the battery.
Yeah. This generation, like always, I believe. Actually, the Pro model as well? No. Okay.
No, this is the
wow.
You mean the stickers? Or?
No. I was talking about I/O. So this is the only model without a pre-installed I/O shield.
Yeah, that's only on the Pro series. All gaming motherboards, so MEG, MPG,
what is the
and MEG.
This one, Torpedo.
Torpedo is indeed the most entry level. Well, it's not really entry level, but yeah. Also comes with the integrated I/O shield. Nine is saying, what? No more driver disk scam. Yeah, sorry about that. It's now a USB flash drive.
What was it in the past? All the driver CDs from CompuServe, was it?
Yeah.
I think everybody got sent at home like, hey, with this you can access internet with your 14K4 modem. That was a nightmare.
But yeah, I would always recommend for your drivers, always get the latest one from our website.
Yeah.
Because even if it's on a USB drive, at a certain point we will have updates, and you will always find those online.
I would not. I mean, this launch is combined with Windows 11, so most of the drivers are inside. But this also is a new platform. So as always, in the beginning you have BIOS updates, you have driver updates. It's not that they're critical. We normally advise you to only update when you have a critical problem, and you can read in the description that it's solved by the driver or by the BIOS. But if you're like me, you always want to update, you have like an update urge. New, better. And most times it doesn't help. Yeah, we have a lot of small features. Let's maybe talk a little bit about the software. Yeah, I see the giveaway. Maybe let's talk about the giveaway, guys. We have a nice giveaway today.
Yes.
It's an expensive giveaway because you need to invest yourself as well. I saw in the chat.
We're going to give away one of these motherboards.
But Michiel also had a good point. It's a cheap giveaway because you get a cheaper system with this.
Exactly.
If you win.
It's a nice base for your 12th gen Intel Core system, your LDAC system. So we're giving away the MPG Z690 carbon Wi-Fi motherboard.
Yeah, so in YouTube and Facebook, YouTube and Facebook we have a pin post. On YouTube and Twitch we have a spam bot which spams the Gleam link. You can click on that, you can still participate.
You can also go to msi.com/2/insider.
Indeed.
And make sure to perform as many actions as you can. then you'll have a bigger chance. To
Yeah. So back to the software. We had a live stream about this a few weeks ago. We spent a lot of time complaining. I mean, that's our core job, right?
Yeah.
Complaining.
I've been complaining for almost a year, and I
Too
think we
many.
made good improvements.
Yeah, we made good improvements. So
Yeah.
what we did, we went to Reddit, we checked all the feedback on some forums, etc.
Yeah.
And we took away, we make a priority list because our software team, of course, they cannot fix everything.
Sometimes there were very friendly suggestions. Sometimes people were totally raging on Reddit.
Yeah, that's normal. That's understandable. So we took all the problems. We gave a priority to it, and then with a bi-weekly meeting with software team, we're working on improving the software because Dragon Center was a pain in the ass to work with. Even I didn't install it on my own PC. So, but yeah, MSI Center is a big step forward. It's by no means perfect. We're still working on it. I think next week, Monday morning, we have again a con call, right?
It's an ongoing process.
Yeah, it's an ongoing process. We will not stop. But yeah, big improvements over there. And yeah, that's also why we dare to talk about, because normally if we mention Dragon Center, it's like, oh, below the desk, they're going to kill us.
Pitchforks are coming out.
Yeah, but that's not anymore the case with MSI Center. BIOS, a lot of specialized improvements to the BIOS. One of the things we already talked about are the OC profiles, which you can write back to your memory DIMM XMP 3.0. But yeah, memory try it. We should do a dedicated live stream about that, about memory training. It's a memory force. You can also measure the strength of the CPU. We have GPU force 2, what we already talked about earlier. A lot of specialized features, but most people nowadays, they don't touch the BIOS anymore. You know, it's set up for Windows 11. Out of the box, it will boot. You can install it.
But always make sure to enable XMP. So don't skip your BIOS completely, because XMP usually gives you a lot of performance with just a single mouse click.
Yeah, that's a good point. Indeed. RGB, we're working also on something, like a RGB Mystic Light mixer. You can mix multiple
effects in multiple layers, basically.
Yeah, if you want to have a heart attack, or what is it? Epileptic.
Yeah, epileptic attack.
Yeah, epileptic attack. This is the tool for you. You can get one in like a few minutes. To be honest, we didn't see it working yet. Actually, we didn't look. we're benchmarking this platform. We didn't look at this yet. It should be already in MSI Center. Yeah, maybe we need to look in the coming weeks as well to this.
Yeah. So combining different light effects within Mystic Light.
Yeah. Let's maybe go over all the motherboards one by one.
Yeah. So this is our MEG Z690 Ace. So extremely strong VRM design. As you can see, it's an extended ATX motherboard as well. A VRM design with 19 105 amp power stages for the CPU. You get 5 M.2 slots, so one there, 2 here, 1 there, and 1 on the side. Then very rich I/O with dual Thunderbolt 4 and also dual DisplayPort in. So if you connect these to your graphics card, you can get both.
Link.
Also get the display signal out of your USB Type-C. Get a lot of USB, clear CMOS button, flash BIOS button, a lot of audio options, Wi-Fi 6E, dual Thunderbolt, or a dual LAN, 2.5 gigabit LAN from Intel as well.
90 phases, 105 amp VRM.
Yes, it's extremely strong.
Yeah.
It's also relatively big, heavy.
Yeah, we should have a scale.
Yeah.
To see what is this?
It's a very hefty motherboard.
Whoa, yeah, whoa, indeed.
Also because it's now an extended ATX model. Where
this is, I don't know.
Yeah, we need a scale.
Interesting, we needed the scale, definitely a scale. Then we're going to talk about our 2 Unify boards. Yeah. That's one, and this is
3
one.
even. With
that's for later, later.
But this is our regular MEG Z690 Unify motherboard. So this one has 4 DIMM slots. It has also 19 phases for the CPU VRM. All are 105 amp smart power stages. It also has 5 M.2 slots, so 1 here, 2 there, and 2 there. Then when we move to the I/O, as you can see, the Unify boards are a little bit more focused at overclocking. That's why we still include the PS2 here. Overclockers really appreciate it because they can always properly control it in their BIOS.
Yeah, so PS2 reacts directly. You don't have to wait for the polling rate.
Yeah.
So especially entering your BIOS for overclockers is really easy.
Yeah. Also, dual 2.5 gigabit LAN. This one doesn't have Thunderbolt, but it does have Lightning USB 20G.
Yeah. Also on the front.
Also on the front. You also get the clear CMOS and the flash BIOS button. Plenty of USB ports, Wi-Fi 6E of course. It's also a very well equipped motherboard. Then we have our Unify X, and that one is essentially the same with one big difference, and that's
actually
this
with
one has
three big differences.
If you include the accessories as well,
yes,
because this one comes, I don't have them on hand. Do you have an image maybe?
No.
It comes with the
I have one,
set.
but not here.
So basically, you can elevate it a little bit. So if you're going to do extreme overclocking with sub-zero cooling and stuff.
It's like a test bench.
Yeah, and it also comes with overclocking tuner. So that's a small device that you can use.
Control panel, external control panel.
External control panel.
With
so
a display on it.
Yeah. And of course 2 DIMM slots, and this really helps with memory overclocking. So if you want to break DDR5 overclocking records, then you're looking at boards with 2 DIMMs, so the Unify X or the Mini ITX Unify.
I believe you already saw some new world records on DDR5 memory.
Yeah.
We are not allowed to talk about it.
That board.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a little bit, we are not allowed to talk about performance, but yeah, soon you will hear more about that. Then your small baby.
Yep. This is our
beauty.
MEG Z690i Unify, so Mini ITX, but still a very, very, very strong VRM design. With it's a direct power design with 10 105 amp smart power stages. As you can see right here, it has 2 stacked M.2 slots. But it also has an M.2 slot on the back. So you get 3 M.2 slots in total on a Mini ITX, which is quite awesome, I think. Of course, this one's also a DDR5 motherboard. Then on the I/O, you can see it also offers dual Thunderbolt 4, like the Ace, with dual DisplayPort in. Plenty of USB ports, 2.5 gigabit LAN, Intel Wi-Fi 6E. So very well equipped as well. Our MEG Z690i Unify. And of course, aluminum backplate.
Then we have the carbon.
The board you can win today. So the MEG Z690 carbon Wi-Fi also offers 5 M.2 slots. 1 here, 2 there, and 2 there. This one is only available in DDR5 option. If you want DDR4, then you have to go to Edge, for example. On the I/O, you see Intel Wi-Fi 6E, Intel 2.5 gigabit LAN, a lot of USB ports, Lightning USB 20G, DisplayPort 1.4, and HDMI 2.1.
Then we have well, maybe let's show this on the screen, because I told you, one moment, PPT. I told you we don't have a board on hand, but this is the Carbon EKX. So it's basically the carbon motherboard with the heatsinks replaced. So the VRM, the CPU, and the top M.2 slot are cooled by a EK water block. The rest of the specs are the same. And yeah, later, in 2 weeks' time, you will see that this is really needed for the temperatures to give the right performance. And hopefully in, I don't know, 1 month time or later this month, we will probably have a live stream with EK.
Yeah, around 1 month.
Talking in detail about this motherboard.
We hope, if the travel restrictions don't get any
indeed.
more difficult. Then let's head on with our MPG Z690 Force Wi-Fi motherboard. And this, in terms of specifications, is very similar to the Carbon. So also has
angle a little bit like this, yeah. You need
the
whole time.
An direct 18 phase power design with 75 amp smart power stages. Yeah. This one has silver heat sinks. It's also a DDR5 board, 5 M.2 slots. In terms of I/O, also the same as the Carbon. So you get 2.5 gigabit LAN, Lightning USB 20G,
Yes, the
Intel Wi-Fi
chipsets are
6E.
all fanless cooled. That's only what happened
Yes.
in X570, and that's fixed, if you want to call it fixed.
Yeah, with
in the
X570S.
X570S,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Hussein, no. Maybe Michiel, you can show it again because I see some comments in the chat. White, it looks white, but
No,
our,
it's very light silver. I would
yeah,
say.
we would say it's silver because our studio lights
Yeah.
are maybe making it to look white, but it's maybe I show it in the main cam. Maybe the same.
Also, yeah,
same lights.
The lights are also really
Maybe
bright.
show the
so-
I/O panel in the detailed cam. Oh, sorry. Yeah, me.
in the detailed cam, it almost looks white indeed.
Yeah.
But it is very light silver.
Yeah. Anyway, if you want to call this silver white, it's okay.
Yeah. Bright silver. Let's go for that.
Yeah, indeed. Then we have our Edge motherboard. And Edge is also available in DDR4.
This actually is the DDR4 model that I'm currently showing. So this has a direct 16-phase VRM design with 75 amp smart power stages. Comes with some nice RGB right there and underneath the heatsink.
Titanium, that's a nice name, yes.
We had titanium boards in the past.
I know. So why is this one not called titanium?
Because it doesn't have a white PCB. Titanium has.
Okay, I stand corrected.
Or a silver PCB,
Yeah.
I should say. So yeah, this is the DDR4 model, as you can see on the back. Looking at the I/O, you can see 2.5 gigabit LAN, Intel Wi-Fi 6 in this example, because this is the DDR4 model. The DDR5 model comes with Wi-Fi 6E. Of course, you get HDMI 2.1, DisplayPort 1.4, and this one has 4 M.2 slots. So 1, 2, 3, and right there. No, wait. Did I say that correctly?
This
Yeah,
one has
1,
4.
2, 3, 4.
Yes.
There we go.
Question in the chat, YouTube, from Xiao Wang. What's the difference between force and carbon?
Force and carbon, mostly the color.
Okay. And
Force and
the RGB.
Yeah, and the RGB Dragon in the
Yeah.
carbon version. But in terms of specifications,
More or
they are
less the same. Yeah.
More or less? No, they are the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is Pci Express Gen 5? Yes, it is. Now you still need to find the GPUs and the M.2s for that.
All the motherboards here have Pci Express Gen 5.
Silver
on the
white, yeah,
Primary
that's good.
Pci Express slot. Is that ATX? Yes. That's ATX. Regular ATX. And the ACE is extended ATX.
Yeah, gunmetal. That's like gunmetal.
Gunmetal is usually, gunmetal gray is like a darker
Yeah.
color usually.
Indeed. How do I get more info on ACE? Well, we just showed you, and you can also go to msi.com, and you type in Z690 ACE. You probably find a product page. To be honest, I didn't have time to look at it yet, but I assume they should be online. I assume they should be online. That's not correct. I assume they are online, and they should be online. Let's talk a Tomahawk, Michiel.
Yes.
You have 2 Tomahawks, right?
Yeah, indeed. Talking about gunmetal gray, this is what I would call gunmetal gray.
Yeah, indeed.
This kind of color. So I'm currently holding the DDR5 model.
Have
You can see
here
on
the
the back.
DDR4 as well.
Yeah. So if I turn it around, you can see the difference behind the memory slots.
They're quite heavy,
Yeah, they're
the
relatively-
generation.
Yeah, indeed. So this comes with 4 M.2 slots. 1, 2, 3. Am I doing that correctly? No. 1, 2, 3, 4. On the I/O, we have 2.5 gigabit LAN Intel, Intel Wi-Fi 6E because this is the DDR5 model. The DDR4 comes with Wi-Fi 6, HDMI 2.1, DisplayPort 1.4, plenty of USB, including Lightning USB 20G.
The product pages are online. Thanks.
So that's the Tomahawk. And of course the VRM is a direct 14-phase Dr. Moss 70 amp.
16 phase.
16 phase?
Yeah.
Pro is, sorry.
Not direct, it's 16,
It's 16
duet.
yeah. A 70,
70 amp
amp
Dr. Moss.
And the Pro series are 14.
Is the Z690 Torpedo enough for, well, let's talk about Torpedo. Now you mention it, you triggered us. Is it enough for 12900K OC? Well,
Depends on how far you want to go, basically.
yeah, I mean, each motherboard can overclock in Z690, but you have a few limitations. First of all, it's cooling. And of course, on the Torpedo, the model Michiel is showing now, you can also put on water cooling, liquid cooling. So that should not be a problem. And then one of the second things are, of course, all the options in the BIOS for fine-tuning. Our MEG boards have more options in the BIOS for that. And the VRM. And then the VRM is good enough for overclocking, but indeed, if you look at ACE or especially Unify, those models can, of course, go higher.
They have stronger components, but also here you, for example, don't have the heat pipe in between the VRM heat sinks.
Yeah, but then I want to make a distinction between overclocking at home, like I'm running 24/7 overclocked and I have 100 megahertz or like, I don't know, 200, 300 megahertz more. Basically, I get more performance for my gaming. Or I want LN2 on top of that CPU and I want to have the world records. That's a different kind of league. And for that, we of course recommend something like Unify X, which is made for overclocking, also has a lot of overclocking features for that, or the MEG ACE.
Yeah. So this one, also 70 amp Dr. Moss, 16 of them. It has 4 M.2 slots, so 1, 2, 3, 4. This board comes in DDR5 only, so no DDR4 option for this one. On the I/O, you get 2.5 gigabit LAN. There is no Wi-Fi on this motherboard, so none at all. No Wi-Fi 6 nor Wi-Fi 6E. It has HDMI 2.1 as well as DisplayPort 1.4, Lightning USB 20G. Also comes with optical audio, even in this segment, so that's very nice, I think. So that's our MAG Z690 Torpedo.
Yeah, then we also have some Pro models. We have one on hand here. We actually have more Pro models coming.
Yes. So the model I have here right now is the Pro Z690-A Wi-Fi. So this is, it has 14 70 amp Dr. Moss for the VRM. This board, for example, doesn't have an integrated I/O shield, which you will see on all gaming motherboards, but not in the Pro series. It does have 4 times M.2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Primary one has M.2 shield Frozzer on there. On the I/O, you can see.
We have Godlike in the chat asking where Godlike is.
That's an interesting one. Godlikeception.
Yeah, indeed. Well, Godlike, you should know when Godlike comes.
So Lightning USB 20G, 2.5 gigabit LAN from Intel. This specific model also has Wi-Fi 6E. This is a DDR5 model. The DDR4 model comes with Wi-Fi 6. No optical audio on this one, but
I'm
still
making
offers
space for the big box
audio header. Yeah, that's a good idea. Make space for the big box.
Yeah. Let's talk about pricing.
Prices first, yeah.
Yeah, so these are the MSRP pricing. This means the suggested retail price. Like always, this will differ in your country. Can be cheaper, can be higher. Exchange rate, transport costs, you know, a lot of can have a lot of influences. But these are the MSRP prices. So ranging from, let's say, $200 to $600. I'm now talking in dollars. Okay, yeah, I'm not going through the list. You can make a screenshot. You can talk about it. You can talk about it. You can ask questions about it if you have a question about a cheapest board, €200. Yes, and then of course you need to add the CPU. Memory, this is DDR4, so maybe you can use your old memory, but also think about if you have still DDR4 like 2800, you might want to upgrade for this.
Yeah, depends a bit. If you have very fast DDR4 memory already, it might be worth considering going for a DDR4 model.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it's slow DDR4, you may want to upgrade anyway.
Yeah.
So then you may as well go for DDR5. Of course, will still be more expensive than DDR4, especially in the beginning. So yeah, here you see the overview with the pricing. If you're wondering, hey, you just told us that you moved some components to the DDR5 memory modules. Why are the DDR5 models more expensive? That of course has to do with things like the Smt soldering on the memory slots on the DDR5 models, but also the DDR5 models with Wi-Fi come with Wi-Fi 6E instead of regular Wi-Fi 6. So yeah, that's where you can spot some of the differences. You may be wondering, you haven't shown us the Pro Z690P yet. That model will come slightly later. That will also only be available in DDR4. So there will be no DDR5 option for the Pro Z690P.
Yeah. And this is everything what we have, of let's say most what we have available in our first wave. Later there will be more models. You know how it always works.
Yeah, this is just an indication as well.
Yeah.
Retailers are free to define their own pricing. So this is just a recommended price from MSI side. And in US dollar, it's still excluding VAT. In euros, it's including VAT, and there we take 20% as an average in Europe, but that may differ per country. So in certain countries, the VAT is a little bit higher, in others a little bit lower. And that will, of course, reflect in the prices.
So, Michiel, maybe you can make some more space.
Yeah, I do need some more space.
Yeah, what I'm going to do, I'm going to pick a lucky winner. If you did not participate, haha, bad luck. Yeah, well, the polls are not closed, but anyway, I'm going to draw a lucky winner for our giveaway. Where is the board? Each time the boards are in a different order.
There is a carbon somewhere.
There is a carbon somewhere. No, oh!
You put it aside.
Yeah, that's the one I put aside. Anyway, this is the carbon. Not this one, but I mean, you can win a carbon motherboard Z690. I'm going to draw a lucky winner. Well, Michiel is unboxing this box. Maybe
I need to be able to open it.
Maybe we need a bigger table.
Some nice print on here. There we go.
Can I put this here somewhere? Probably not.
So this is our Z690 media kit. So this is what we send to different media to review. So you might see it pop up in a couple of places in the coming days, coming weeks. So they can then review our motherboard, but also comes included with DDR5 memory, the CPU, so they have everything included. That's why we cooperated with Kingston Fury and Intel on this. So this is also the platform that we will be using in 2 weeks to do our demonstrations with the new 12th gen Intel Core processors.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about that because next week I put here the time zones in because times are going to change. Meaning in Europe, we're based in Holland, most of you already know. We're going to move this weekend, coming weekend, to the what we call, what is it? Energy saving something?
Daylight saving.
Daylight saving. Okay, we call it winter time, but anyway, yeah. Daylight saving time. And this basically means we are 1 hour earlier, so we go 1 hour back in time. That's strange.
No.
Are we going to move forward in time?
No, we're going back in time. Sorry. No, yeah. you're correct.
Yeah, I know. This time I know.
We're going back in time.
Yeah, we're going back in time. That sounds strange, right?
Yeah.
Which means next week live stream on Wednesday, it will be in Asia. Taipei time, I wrote here, it's 11 p.m. in the evening, not 10 o'clock. And in US, because US is not changing time as well, it's in LA, it's 8 a.m. PDT, we're going live. The week after, when we're going to benchmark, we're going to do that on Wednesday, 10th of November. Then USA also changed to daylight saving time.
Yeah. So one week later.
Yeah, indeed. So then it's back to 7 a.m. for USA, and it will stay.
For LA at least.
Of LA, yeah, indeed. PDT. So and then for Asia it will stay the same. And the week after, I put there a question mark. That's the time going forward. So nothing will change after that until half year later.
Eric, I have a task for you. You can be the cameraman.
Oh, yeah, cool. We go to... Okay. Yeah. Is it working?
Yeah.
Okay. Move everything aside.
Keep it very steady.
Maybe I
very steady.
Oh, that's...
Don't break something. So yeah, here you can see some stuff that's in there. Of course, our MEG Z690 Unify motherboard. So this is the motherboard we will use in 2 weeks' time to do our demonstrations with. Let me quickly open it up for a sneak peek.
Maybe show the other way around.
There we go.
What I like, can you close the box? I like the inside, how that looks. Yeah, really nice.
Yeah, this is the same motherboard we just shown, of course. So the MEG Z690 Unify.
Can you show the back of the box?
Of this box?
No.
This box?
Yeah.
I can. Then let's go back into the bigger box. A nice kit, 32 gigabytes of DDR5 5200 megahertz from Kingston Fury. So the Kingston Fury Beast modules.
Sorry, I'm shaking a bit. I'm all excited.
The new Intel CPU, so Alder Lake CPU, and this is the Intel Core i9 12900K. And Eric just put it in his pocket. Give me back that CPU. Eric is now almost dropping from the chair. Oh. So there you can see it.
I almost had it. Is it like a retail sample?
No. It will look different when you buy it in the store.
No, this is a...
the sample itself is a retail sample.
It's not an engineering sample.
No, it's not an engineering sample. You can see the difference here. I, for example, have... Ooh. Don't break everything, Eric.
I just want to borrow this.
Yeah. This is, for example, an engineering sample.
Oh, one moment.
It says Intel Confidential.
Can you show better? Because I did...
Oh.
So that's how...
It's the same CPU, by the way, but it's an engineering sample.
1200K. So something dropped out of the box?
Yeah, I think that was the metal plate.
Was?
Yeah.
Not the CPU?
I hope not. No, CPU is still in it. This is what you drop.
Okay. So what does it say?
It says...
MSI, Intel, Fury.
The Gram present the best performance combination as media kit. So
Okay.
Intel, Kingston Fury, Ace Attack, of course,
Is that
our
a
partner
credit
for the
card?
liquid cooler. It is credit card size.
Okay, thank
It's
you.
made from metal. So let me put this back in here. And move the CPU aside. Because we have another layer in this. And this is our latest liquid cooler. We made this together with Ace Attack.
Yeah, we want the entire box. Thank you.
So this is the MEG Core Liquid S360.
Let me see with the lights how I can do this.
And this one comes with the LGA 1700 bracket out of the box.
Damn, being cameraman is difficult.
With your hands, yes.
Everybody's seasick, puking.
So this is also the cooler that we will be using when demonstrating the Core i9 12900K.
So 10th of November, right? And the small box over there?
Yeah, with some liquid cooler accessories. These are the when you have like the
some
water
of the
block.
YouTubers, you know, they have like a mobile cam and moving around the house.
So these are metal plates to put on the
wouldn't
the
know
water
how to
block
do that.
right there.
Okay, nice.
So this is the hardware that we're going to use in 2 weeks' time. So let me quickly put everything back in here. I'm going to put a big lock on it so Eric doesn't make stuff disappear.
Make stuff disappear. This sounds like it has some history.
Yeah, maybe. CPU. No. And the memory kit.
I think I take the whole box. Only the CPU. I cannot do anything.
No, that's true. So let me properly close this again. So that's the media kit that we're going to use. Is that a metal case? It's a wooden case, I think.
Woods with some
metal on the corners. Yeah,
metal corners. Okay.
Metal reinforced. And it's kind of heavy.
Time for the lucky draw.
Ooh, and someone will be very lucky.
You take this board?
Yes. So
okay,
who will win the MPG
like
Z690 Carbon?
Yeah. Let me
The moment of truth.
first check the chat.
Wait, we need some RGB effects with this on the motherboard,
this
of
away.
course.
Oh yeah. Oh, then I will switch off the lights. That didn't do a lot. Maybe enough
Make
for
it more
RGB.
exciting. Yeah, it's okay.
You need to put it away from the webcam. Maybe,
More to the middle, maybe.
No, too many boards.
There we go.
Okay. Good luck, everybody. Yes, good luck, everybody. Expensive price.
Yes.
Because you will need to invest a little bit more. Or cheap PC, like what Michiel said.
Look at it from the bright side.
Yeah. This okay like this, Michiel?
Yeah.
Okay, now, then let's start.
Let's draw our winner.
Let's go into Gleam. Yeah. This always takes a little bit time. It's a random lucky draw. Hey, we have a winner.
Ooh.
I go back to the, well, yeah, we're just going to announce it or not. Let me see the chat. Good luck all. Yeah, oh, they're a little bit behind. Okay, the winner is on my screen. The winner is called Glitching Pixel. Of
Congratulations.
Pixel, Glitching Pixel.
Glitching Pixel. Congratulations, you won an MPG Z690 carbon Wi-Fi motherboard.
Yeah, he was like, can I see on what platform? Twitter. No, cannot see on what platform he joined or watched.
No.
And I think I saw him before.
Yeah, I think so too. I think I saw the name.
Anyway, congratulations. We will send, I don't know when we will send this.
Yeah, it may take a couple of weeks, of course, because the boards are not on the market yet. But we will contact you in the coming days to get your.
You can start saving for the CPU.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, if you cannot buy the CPU yet, then it doesn't really make sense to have the motherboard already. But yeah, we will contact you in the coming days to get your shipping information, and then we will ship the board to you as soon as possible.
Yes.
So congratulations.
If you did not win, don't worry. Next week, what I talked about next week, Ja also has some. I think he has some LED light for the monitor and some speaker as a giveaway. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, anyway, watch next week, and the week after we're going to give away again a Z690 motherboard, and we're going to do all the benchmarks. And like what I said, we have a lot of interesting benchmarks, right?
Yeah. Plenty of stuff to show.
Yeah, plenty of stuff, indeed. When will B660 come? I never heard about that. Don't know.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah. We won. Glitching Pixel. Let me go back. How do you pronounce it?
Pixel?
Glitching Pixel. I guess, yes.
Yeah.
And maybe you have the same nickname like him. Just wait. You will get an email from us in the coming days.
I doubt that there are two glitching
Yeah,
pixels,
indeed.
Though,
But we have one time we had
it was a very generic
name, and everybody was like, "Oh, I won."
Yeah, like 5 people thought they won.
Yeah,
but
anyway.
it was only one win.
Yes. Okay. I go to this screen. Let me see next week. Yes. So next week, Ja is going to do his magic. He's going to talk about
losing screws.
We cannot joke about that. Anyway, have fun. Thank you all for joining. And hope to see you next week. Or hope that you see Ja next week. And
back again on Wednesday.
Yeah, Wednesdays.
So keep that in mind.
Indeed. And then the week after on the 10th, hope to see you do some, we do some benchmarks.
And keep the time zones
Will
in
Ruud be
mind.
here?
In 2 weeks?
No, maybe.
Yeah, sounds good.
Maybe we invite Intel.
I know Ruud already did a lot of testing, so he already knows a lot about this stuff.
Maybe we check if Intel is available. They can also talk a little bit about the scenes, how they designed this, because
and
it's...
maybe I will arrange to another cool giveaway.
I just told them we will give away another mainboard.
But which one?
Oh, okay. That's up to you. Thank you all.
You already promised stuff. I still need to arrange that.
I know, but I know you can do it. I trust you can do it.
True.
Thank you all for joining.
Thanks, guys. Hope to see you again next week. Different day, different time depending on your time zone. So carefully watch it.
Wednesdays.
On
Wednesday. Regular
Wednesday.
Wednesdays.
But again, YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Twitter.
Bye-bye. Yeah. Bye.